This could temporarily solve our crisis." His words immediately gained the approval of many people present. The Emperor of Great Ling also gradually calmed down. He nodded to the man who had just spoken. "Minister Jiang, I'll leave this matter to you." "Yes." The man in brocade robes, referred to as Minister Jiang, took out a communication Jade talisman unique to the demon race. However, as he tried to send a message through the talisman, he was shocked to find that the message from their side couldn't be transmitted at all. This. What was happening? In a moment, dense cold sweat appeared on Minister Jiang's forehead. Others also noticed his abnormal reaction. Xiao Taiwing, who was on the other side, frowned and asked, "What's the matter? Hasn't the message been sent yet? Or is there no response from the demon race?" Hearing Xiao Taiwing's words, Minister Jiang's forehead sweated even more. He stuttered and finally, gritting his teeth, looked towards the emperor with an uneasy expression. "Your Majesty, our messages can't be sent out at all." "What?" Minister Jiang's words were like a stone thrown into a calm lake, causing ripples and turmoil. The Emperor of Great Ling stood up abruptly, his face showing disbelief. "How is this possible?" The others reacted similarly. Quickly, someone else took out their communication Jade talisman and tried to send a message. To their shock, their messages, like Minister Jiang's, couldn't be transmitted either. What's going on?" Unconsciously, cold sweat appeared on everyone's foreheads. "No, that's not right." Suddenly, another person exclaimed, "Not only can I not send messages out, but I also can't receive any messages from outside. Even the messages from outside." Everyone's pupils sharply contracted. The next second, everyone confirmed that what the person said was true. At this moment, including the Emperor of Great Ling and Xiao Taiwing, everyone's face turned extremely grim. Suddenly, the Emperor's gaze shifted towards another side of the hall. There, standing in a black cloak, was Venerable Hun Tian. The Emperor of Great Ling addressed him. "Venerable Hun Tian, may I ask what exactly is happening, and how should we respond to this situation?" Hearing the Emperor's question, everyone's eyes brightened slightly. That's right. Among them was Venerable Hun Tian, who presumably, with his abilities, should be able to understand the reason behind this and offer a solution. However, to everyone's dismay, when all eyes turned to Venerable Hun Tian, they were shocked to see that his expression was just as grim as theirs. Venerable Hun Tian!" Someone subconsciously shouted. Venerable Hun Tian shook his head. "If I'm not mistaken, the opponent has used some special method to isolate us from all external contacts. Even the connection between me and my master has been severed." How is that possible?" Everyone was once again shocked. They couldn't comprehend how their opponent could have the capability to do such a thing. To sever even the connection between Venerable Hun Tian and his master would require an incredibly powerful force. Perhaps even a late-stage soul formation, Heavenly Lord couldn't achieve such a feat. What they didn't know was that Jiang Chengxuan indeed possessed an item capable of this, the special confinement array disc he had obtained from the system. The array disc could restrict even a true void returning Divine Lord for a brief moment, let alone being used to cut off communication between the central plane, the demon territory, and other areas. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan looked at the great Ling Imperial Palace floating in the highest sky of the central plain, a hint of icy coldness appearing in his eyes, without any hesitation. His figure suddenly soared high, reaching 100 feet in size in a blink of an eye. His body radiated a surging aura like a blazing sun, resembling a furnace. This instantly evaporated the traces of demonic qi subtly present in the surroundings with a hissing sound. Boom! At this moment, a gigantic dragon and elephant shadow loomed behind Jiang Chengxuan. Then his hands formed an extremely refined, domineering, forceful, and magnificent fist shadow, and he struck out with tremendous force. Boom! The void was suddenly pierced, creating a massive black hole. Chaotic energy swirled within it. Jiang Chengxuan's punch had actually broken through the void of this world. Rumble! At the same time, the great Ling Imperial Palace, floating high in the sky, suddenly burst into an extremely blinding flare of light. Waves of surging energy continuously bombarded the palace's protective array runes, causing them to flicker relentlessly. Vaguely, the level 6 protective array in Great Ling Imperial Palace seemed to have been completely activated. The Emperor of Great Ling, Xiao Taiwing, venerable Hun Tian, and others inside the palace felt the ground beneath them shaking violently. Bursts of blinding light erupted. At this moment, they were like a ship floating on the ocean caught in a massive storm, seemingly on the verge of capsizing at any moment. ****starred. The Emperor of Great Ling roared in anger. At this point, if he still did not know what had happened, he would be too slow on the uptaking. Others present also had grim expressions. They really did not expect the other party to be so fast. While they were still discussing countermeasures, Jiang Chengxuan had already launched an attack on them. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, another set of equally powerful fist shadows was released from Jiang Chengxuan's hands. This time, he struck with 9 consecutive punches. Loud rumbling sounds continuously resonated. Accompanied by the constantly flickering light of the protective array of the Great Ling Imperial Palace, everyone on Jiang Chengxuan's side involuntarily showed shocked expressions on their faces. The power of fellow Taoist Jiang's attack had probably long broken through the bottleneck of the late-stage soul formation, right? Otherwise, the level 6 protective array of the Great Ling Imperial Palace wouldn't have reacted so drastically. The Emperor of Great Ling and others were clearly aware of this as well. The expressions on their faces were no longer just somber. Many showed signs of pallor. The late-stage soul formation was an extremely formidable existence, akin to the late-stage nascent soul. It marked a clear and absolute gap in power compared to the early and middle stages of the same realm. It was a force truly capable of threatening their level 6 protective array. Rumble. However, what made the Emperor of Great Ling and others even more terrified was what happened next. After Jiang Chengxuan launched 10 consecutive punches, his partner Shen Ruyan also ceased to just watch. She raised her hand. Squeak, squeak. In an instant, blinding and terrifying bolts of lightning began to converge in her palm. In the blink of an eye, a star-sparkling thunderbolt spear formed in her hand. With a piercing whistling sound, the void in front of them suddenly collapsed into a massive black hole with threads of electricity and chaotic energy raging within. The thunderbolt spear also pierced through the void in an instant, appearing directly above the level 6 protective array of the Great Ling Imperial Palace. Rumble. An explosive force, on par with Jiang Chengxuan's attack, erupted. In that instant, the entire Great Ling Imperial Palace was engulfed in endless lightning. The Emperor of Great Ling and others could even faintly feel a tingling sensation on their bodies. No, they had to counterattack, or else their level 6 protective array would eventually fail under such relentless assault. Realizing this, the Emperor of Great Ling looked at the gathered ministers and commanded in a stern voice. Loyal ministers, now, immediately join me in confronting the enemy. We must stop them outside the Great Ling Imperial Palace. At this point, the Great Ling Emperor turned to look at Venerable Hun Tian and asked, Honored Venerable, do you have any methods to temporarily deal with this situation? Hearing this, Venerable Hun Tian slowly stood up. As he did so, dozens of shadowy figures split off from his body. Their faces were blurred, indistinct, but the Emperor and others could feel a powerful force emanating from these shadows. Even the weakest among them was comparable to an early-stage soul formation cultivator. Good, good, good. The Emperor of Great Ling couldn't help but praise repeatedly. With these, I refuse to believe we can't stop those people outside, or even expel them from the central plane. Boom! At this moment, an immensely powerful aura erupted within the Great Ling Imperial Palace. Dozens of level 6 attacks, through their level 6 protective array, were launched towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan both sneered. Did they really think that what they had just displayed was their full strength? Boom! At this moment, a white and a golden flame appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's hands, the pure yin and yang true fire. As Jiang Chengxuan fused them into one, an explosively violent and terrifying aura surged from a palm-sized fireball, swirling with white and gold colors. Go! Phew! As Jiang Chengxuan propelled the fireball forward, a straight, scorched trail appeared in its wake through the void, yet its edges remained undamaged. This demonstrated that the power within the fireball was compressed to the extreme, with hardly any energy leakage. Oh no! Sensing the subtle fluctuations emanating from the fireball, the Emperor of Great Ling and even Venerable Hun Tian within the palace rapidly narrowed their eyes. At this moment, Shen Ruyan beside Jiang Chengxuan also raised her hand to cast a spell. Rumble! Instantly 2 thunderbolts, one black and one white, thunderously descended. The next moment, they merged with another thunderbolt, radiating a spectrum of colors. In the blink of an eye, a destructive, silent, and great power appeared on the thunderbolt. It was one of Shen Ruyan's most powerful divine powers, the yin-yang 5 elements divine thunder. Rumble, rumble, rumble. As the couple's attacks collided fiercely with those from within the great Ling imperial palace, a visible black mushroom cloud suddenly appeared in midair. It wasn't an energy dispersion, but a black hole that no light could penetrate. Crack, crack, crack. Simultaneously, visible, clear cracks began to snake across the surface of the level 6 protective array, causing the faces of the Emperor of Great Ling and his ministers to drastically change. Boom! But at that moment, Jiang Chengxuan, who was in the distance, suddenly took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, he appeared above the Great Ling imperial palace. Phew! His deep earth halberd in hand rapidly grew in size. In the blink of an eye, it expanded to hundreds of feet, carrying an unparalleled force as it smashed down. Before the Emperor of Great Ling and others could react, they felt the ground beneath them suddenly collapse. Subsequently, it felt as if the world had turned upside down. The whistling of fierce winds filled their ears, and before their eyes, they saw the protective array collapsing inward before exploding violently. Rumble! In that instant, it seemed as though the heavens and the earth themselves were collapsing. Even though the Emperor of Great Ling and others were soul formation cultivators at the apex of this realm's hierarchy, they couldn't help but feel a sense of helplessness. Kai kai kai. Sharp whistling sounds suddenly filled the air. Lethal sword lights, akin to the scythe of the Grim Reaper, swiftly swept across many people present. Arg! Accompanied by muffled groans and screams, when everything came to a standstill again, more than a dozen people inside the Great Ling Imperial Palace were found with a hole that ran through their foreheads. Bang, bang, bang. As these individuals fell one by one, the Emperor of Great Ling and others were completely pale, their hands trembling uncontrollably behind their backs. Terrifying, it was really too terrifying. This was not something an ordinary soul formation, Heavenly Lord, could accomplish. Their power and might far exceeded their imagination. Thud, thud, thud. Suddenly, clear footsteps echoed in the ears of everyone still alive. They turned their heads to look. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan appeared, walking hand in hand as casually as if they were strolling in their own backyard. The Emperor of Great Ling nearly ground his teeth to dust in fury. This was undoubtedly the greatest humiliation he had ever experienced in his life. However, his anger soon gave way to boundless terror. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan approached them, and with almost every step they took, they casually launched an attack, eliminating the enemy nearest to them. By the time they were almost near, few people were left standing in the area. You must be Venerable Hun Tian, right? To the Emperor's further humiliation, when Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan approached, they ignored him completely and turned their attention to Venerable Hun Tian standing aside. It seems you must be hiding some sort of trump card. Jiang Chengxuan narrowed his eyes and coldly smirked at Venerable Hun Tian. Let me guess. Inside you lies a special power capable of handling any unexpected situation. Am I right? These words caused the previously composed Venerable Hun Tian's expression to change drastically. But before he could react, a green flag suddenly appeared above Jiang Chengxuan's head. Whoosh! As the green flag waved, Venerable Hun Tian's vision blurred. In the next moment, he found himself in a hazy mist. He couldn't even see his own fingers. He couldn't see anything beyond a foot ahead, neither with his eyes nor with his divine sense. Kai kai kai. However, at this moment, a terrifying cold light suddenly appeared in the fog. Venerable Hun Tian couldn't react in time and was pierced by numerous cold lights, creating many holes in his body. Damn it! He was furious, yet his mind grew more composed. He knew that his only hope of escape now lay in the trump card left by his master, something meant for a more critical moment. But since they were so eager to seek death, he couldn't be blamed for what came next. With these thoughts, the eyes of Venerable Hun Tian turned extremely cold. An extremely terrifying aura faintly appeared on his body. However, just as this aura was about to reach its peak, it suddenly deflated like a burst balloon and fell back. How could this be? This change was too sudden, so much so that he could not react in time. In just a moment, endless flames surged within the mist. These weren't ordinary flames, but rather the pure yang true fire and sun true fire, the most effective against demonic cultivators. Roar! Simultaneously, terrifying dragon roars echoed. Within the mist, two dragon shadows, one blue and one black, fiercely pounced on Venerable Hun Tian. Arg! Venerable Hun Tian screamed in horror as he realized that his powers seemed to be restrained by some force. He couldn't use any of his treasures or divine powers, and could only watch as the flames and dragon shadows gradually engulfed his body. Whoosh! Suddenly, a surge of spiritual qi swept through the great Ling imperial palace. Yang Chengxuan raised his hand and put away the eastern green dragon flag. However, Venerable Hun Tian was nowhere to be seen. This made the Emperor of Great Ling and the others present sense an ominous feeling. Unfortunately, Jiang Chengxuan had no intention of explaining anything to them. He waved his hand casually, and the eastern green dragon flag was deployed once again. The Emperor and others felt a blur before their eyes and found themselves in the same hazy mist. After a long time, Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan watched their army of cultivators ruthlessly slaughter the demonic monsters, but their eyes didn't hold much joy. In the past few hundred years, most of the central plain had fallen to demonization. What was once the most prosperous place for cultivation in the Nine Essences cultivation world was now desolate and in ruins. All this destruction was a result of the actions of the Great Ling Imperial Palace, Venerable Hun Tian, and various soul formation sects and families. Countless people had been innocently caught in this demonic catastrophe, a loss even more severe than that of the demonic calamity war. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's faces showed a cold determination. "Pass my order," Jiang Chengxuan declared. "Anyone who participated in this matter, regardless of who they are or what power they hold, shall not be spared." Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, Heavenly Lord Chuan Yang, Dongfeng Tianxing, and Murong Xian personally joined the fight, cleansing those demonic monsters and cultivators who had committed such sins. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan then headed deep into the territory of the demon race. This time, they intended to eradicate all these hidden threats. With the special restraining array disc, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan weren't worried about any upheaval from the enemy. Indeed, a few months later, as the last giant dragon figure in the depths of the demon race territory crashed to the ground, not a single demon beast above the nascent soul level was left alive in the entire demon race territory. Ding! At the same time, a system notification suddenly sounded in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. "Congratulations, host, for achieving the accomplishment of defeating the demon race and obtaining a portion of the origin of heaven and earth." Origin of heaven and earth, the most fundamental substance of the world, capable of fundamentally repairing a damaged and broken world. Huh? Seeing the reward given by the system, Jiang Chengxuan was momentarily stunned. What does this mean? Is the system rewarding this to him, suggesting that he should use it to repair this world? Sure enough, this item was indeed something he needed at the moment. If he could repair this world with it, even partially, it would buy them enough time. However, had the system forgotten about him this time? What about rewards that are useful to me? Why didn't the system give it to me? While pondering this, Jiang Chengxuan took out the portion of the origin of heaven and earth. It was a hazy and luminous orb, its specific appearance unclear, but he could feel an immensely grand and vast aura emanating from it. Is this the so-called origin of heaven and earth? Despite some internal grumbling, Jiang Chengxuan proceeded as instructed by the system and integrated the origin of heaven and earth into this world. Buzz. Boom. In an instant, the entire Nine Essences cultivation world burst into a radiantly gentle light, as if the entire world had awakened and been rejuvenated. A sense of vibrant vitality permeated everyone's hearts. Everyone could clearly see that as the radiant and gentle light in the world grew brighter, the damaged spaces were quickly repaired. Broken rivers and seas reconnected, collapsed mountains and valleys stood tall once more. Streams of visible dark energy were stripped from the world and evaporated into nothingness. Lurking demonic monsters and demonic cultivators, unnoticed in corners, screamed under the light and turned into smoke. Furthermore, the broken and damaged spiritual veins were also restored. Even those so-called danger zones began to emit waves of fiendish aura. In the end, they were melted by the light and disappeared. At this moment, the entire cultivation world of the 9 essences had entered a state of revival and vitality. Merit Golden Lotus, traveling to another world 1. Everyone stood in awe, never expecting their world to rejuvenate with such vitality. Suddenly, Xian exclaimed, "My cultivation bottleneck seems to be loosening." Buzz. Right after she spoke, the several heavenly lords present clearly felt that Xian's cultivation had broken through to the mid-stage of soul formation. At the same time, Everlasting Mountain, Infinite Ocean, Chuan Yang, and Dongfeng Tianxing, they also clearly felt their own cultivation bottlenecks beginning to loosen. In the next moment, before they could react, they were astonished to find their cultivation levels easily breaking through. This is real," Dongfeng Tianxing subconsciously muttered. Suddenly, they seemed to have thought of something and turned their gazes to the distant sky. There, Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's auras were like 2 suns. It emitted an incomparably resplendent light. Crack, crack, crack. Everyone seemed to hear the sound of a bottleneck being shattered, not from Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, but from the world itself. Yes, the world itself seemed to have broken through some sort of limitation, causing the spiritual chi throughout to increase by hundreds to thousands of times its original level, and it continued to rise. This is... Suddenly, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain seemed to have thought of something. He couldn't help but look ecstatic. The status of our world has been elevated. Status elevation, everyone was momentarily stunned. But soon, they understood what Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain meant by the world's status elevation. To put it bluntly, the upper limit of their world's strength had increased. If previously, cultivators in the 9 essences cultivation world could only cultivate up to level 6 of soul formation, no matter how much more they cultivated, they couldn't break through to enter the late stage of soul formation. After that, no matter how much you cultivated, you would no longer be able to break through and enter the late stage soul formation. However, now, with the elevation of the 9 essences cultivation world status, the upper limit of cultivators' abilities was no longer restricted to the 6th level of soul formation. It had been elevated to the 9th level, the pinnacle of soul formation. This was great news for all the living beings in their world. This elevation in the world's status not only meant an increase in the world's upper limit, but also made cultivation easier for all beings in this world, offering more opportunities. Boom! As the world's status elevated, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also simultaneously unleashed an unparalleled powerful aura. Shen Ruyan, previously stuck at the 6th level of Shen Ruyan, almost instantly stepped into the 7th level, reaching the late stage of soul formation, known as the Great Heavenly Lord, becoming 10 times stronger than before. As for Jiang Chengxuan, his cultivation leaped from the 5th to the 6th level of soul formation and continued to rise at a rate perceptible even to ordinary people. Buzz. Space rippled as Jiang Chengxuan's cultivation level matched Shen Ruyan's, both reaching the late stage of soul formation. At this moment, if it was in the past, they could easily initiate ascension to the higher realms under normal circumstances, or freely traverse the lower realms and various small and large cultivation worlds. It could be said that a great heavenly lord had completely exceeded the scope of an ordinary soul formation cultivator. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't do so under current circumstances. Firstly, the ascension platform in the 9 essences cultivation world, or more accurately, the entire dustless lower realm, was damaged and could no longer resonate with the higher realms to descend the guiding spiritual light of ascension. Naturally, they would not be able to ascend through normal means. Secondly, and most importantly, a great threat lingered outside their 9 essences cultivation world. It was that powerful entity who wanted to refine their world. As a result, even with the ability to freely roam the lower realms, the couple dared not act recklessly, fearing detection by that powerful entity, which would bring calamity. So, their immediate task was to repair the damaged ascension platform. Only by repairing the ascension platform could they ascend in a normal way. Moreover, Jiang Chengxuan had a very strong feeling that only by repairing the ascension platform would their 9 essences cultivation world be truly safe. Once the lower and higher realms, pathways were connected, It would not only complete the final piece of the puzzle for the 9 essences and the entire dustless lower realm, but also allow them to communicate with their higher realm. At that point, even if the entity from the outer world was reluctant, he would have to abandon his plan to refine the 9 essences cultivation world, as forcibly refining a lower world was strictly prohibited, especially using demonic methods. If their lower world belonged to the demonic path, it might have been a different story. Merit Golden Lotus, traveling to another world too. Editor, Henny Translations. But considering the situation of their 9 essences, the higher realm they belong to is clearly not of the demonic path. Under such circumstances, if their higher realm's beings become aware of this, they will surely not spare that entity. So, after all is said and done, repairing the damaged ascension platform has become the most crucial task for Jiang Chengxuan and his allies. Just as Jiang Chengxuan was planning to inspect the ascension platform of their world, golden strands of merit began to coalesce in the heavens and earth. Soon, these strands of merit formed into a golden lotus. Before anyone could react, the lotus swiftly flew into Jiang Chengxuan's brow. Buzz! At this moment, a merit golden lotus suddenly shone brightly in Jiang Chengxuan's sea of consciousness, illuminating his entire sea of consciousness with a golden light. Jiang Chengxuan didn't expect such a turn of events. Was this the gift from heaven and earth? By using the origin of heaven and earth awarded by the system to repair the world, did the world in turn reward him with a merit golden lotus? At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan could clearly see that there were now 2 merit golden lotuses silently floating in the depths of his sea of consciousness. One had to know that the merit golden lotus was a treasure. Not only could it be used to attract good fortune and increase the likelihood of acquiring desired opportunities, but it could also enhance cultivation and improve the quality of artifact and pill refinement. Essentially, there was nothing in the world that merit couldn't accomplish. If something couldn't be achieved, it simply meant that one's merit wasn't sufficient. It seemed that this was the true purpose of the origin of heaven and earth rewarded by the system. Not only did it buy him enough time, but it also helped elevate his cultivation in advance. Most importantly, it granted him a merit golden lotus, a crucial item for critical moments that could truly save lives. Husband, what just happened? Shen Ruyan asked, puzzled by the fleeting phenomenon. Due to the inherent nature of merit to shield all divination, even she, who was right next to Jiang Chengxuan, had only a vague sense of it. Jiang Chengxuan, who would never hide anything from his Tao companion, responded with a smile, causing a look of uncontainable joy to appear in Shen Ruyan's eyes. Hearing Jiang Chengxuan speak, Shen Ruyan nodded. Let's go, Ruyan. We should take a look at our world's ascension platform. If nothing unexpected occurs, our next most important task will be to repair that platform. As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan had already brought Shen Ruyan to a deep valley, according to the memories he had obtained. Jiang Chengxuan raised his hand and cast several spells. Buzz! In an instant, strange ripples swept past. Suddenly, the ordinary-looking valley was shrouded in a thick fog. However, this fog didn't block divine senses. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan quickly noticed a massive circular stone platform quietly standing to their left. The surface of the circular stone platform was carved with countless profound runes. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan recognized at a glance that it was not a common language in the cultivation world of the 9 essences. Instead, it was a language that originated from the upper realm. Thinking about it, it should belong to the counterpart of their world in the upper realm. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan took out the realm resonance stone from his body and placed it on the ascension platform. Buzz! In an instant, the surface of the ascension platform immediately emitted a hazy light. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately felt that something was trying to connect between heaven and earth. Unfortunately, this situation only lasted for less than a breath of time before the faint light on the ascension platform was completely extinguished. Even the realm resonance stone returned to its dormant state. Indeed, the damaged ascension platform could not use the realm resonance stone to sense the approximate location of the upper realm, let alone use it to locate the exact coordinates. Jiang Chengxuan put away the realm resonance stone and began closely examining the ascension platform with Shen Ruyan. They soon discovered that, as Sage Dragon Master mentioned, both the ascension array and ascension platform were damaged. To repair it, they would need mystic color stone and celestial flight crystal. According to their understanding, these two materials did not exist in the cultivation world of the 9 essences. If they wanted to find it, they had to go to other cultivation worlds. At this moment, it was clearly impossible to go to other cultivation worlds through normal methods. After thinking about it, they could only use the cross-realm array platform in the ancient ruin to go to other cultivation worlds to take a look. Although they did not know if the cultivation world that the cross-realm array platform led to had these two materials, it was currently their only choice. In any case, there was basically no need for the two of them to handle the rest of the matter. They would leave it to Xu and Yang, Infinite Ocean, Everlasting Mountain, Dongfeng Tianxing, Murong Xian, Blue Moon, and Kongming. Whether the two of them were around or not would not have much of an impact. The only thing they needed to pay attention to was the establishment of the new order. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had told Heavenly Lord Xuan Yang about this a long time ago. They believed that Heavenly Lord Xuan Yang and Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain wouldn't disappoint them. Even so, before Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan decided to go to other cultivation worlds, they still went back to the Jiang family and left some things for Jiang Anren and the others in case of emergencies. After doing all this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan finally set off for the ruin they had visited before. Upon arriving near the ruin, Jiang Chengxuan took out an array flag he had obtained there. As he infused his dharmic power into the flag, it shone brightly. Buzz! Simultaneously, the light enveloped both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. When they looked around again, they found themselves inside the grand hall they had visited before. At the very front, there was a cross-realm stone platform engraved with a cross-realm array. It stood there quietly. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged a solemn glance and approached the platform without hesitation. "This is it," Jiang Chengxuan said. "Given our current strength, such a level of cross-realm teleportation array shouldn't pose any danger to us. However, just to be safe, we should keep the death substitution talisman at hand." Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Shen Ruyan nodded slightly in agreement. She took out several supreme-grade spirit stones and, together with Jiang Chengxuan, placed them into the various slots on the platform. Buzz! As soon as all the slots were filled with the supreme-grade spirit stones, the platform burst into an incredibly dazzling light. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could clearly feel that the power of the teleportation array was surging out from the light. Next, the two of them only needed to stand on the cross-region stone platform together, and they could use this cross-region stone platform to head to the corresponding cultivation world. After a brief exchange of glances, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan stepped onto the platform without any further hesitation. Buzz! As the light completely engulfed their figures, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's silhouettes swiftly vanished from atop the cross-realm stone platform. World Biomap. Cross-realm teleportation was different from ordinary teleportation. It was genuinely high risk. Ordinary cultivators, if they didn't have the appropriate protective treasures, were very likely to be crushed by the nearly distorted spatial forces surrounding them the moment the transmission started. Even cultivators who had just entered the soul formation dare not be careless about cross-realm teleportation, as their understanding of spatial rules was not deep enough. If they were not careful, they could be seriously injured by the violent spatial forces. However, for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who had reached the late stage of soul formation, dealing with this level of teleportation was a breeze. Even so, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were not careless at all. Both of them held a death substitution talisman in their hands to prepare for any accidents that might occur, as this was their first time undergoing cross-realm teleportation, and they were not very clear about their destination. So, everything must be done with caution. It's always better to be safe than sorry. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The light and shadow in front of him kept flashing past. It seemed like a moment, yet also like an eternity. When Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's feet finally touched solid ground again, they were surprised to find themselves on a cross-realm stone platform. Looking around, they found themselves in a mountain cave, sparsely lit with luminous crystals. Judging by their appearance, these crystals had been there for a long time. They were uncertain which cultivation realm they had arrived in. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan felt a slight shock upon realizing that their cultivation levels were not suppressed in this new world. Normally, when a soul formation cultivator from one world travels to another, their cultivation level and strength are often weakened or suppressed due to the differences in the world's rules. In extreme cases, their cultivation level could be suppressed below soul formation. This was a primary reason why cultivators like them, capable of independent cross-realm travel, still hesitated to venture into other worlds. If they went to a certain world and their strength was weakened or suppressed too much, it was very common for them to fail in that world. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan experienced no such suppression. Their cultivation levels and strength remained the same as in their original 9 essences cultivation world. Could this be related to? The couple could not help but look at each other. Both of them seemed to have guessed a certain possibility. Merely, what they needed to worry about the most right now was not that. Rather, they needed to find out exactly what sort of world they were in. Thinking of this, the couple immediately walked towards the exit of the cave. When they arrived at the exit, they realized that the cave they were in was actually enveloped by an incomparably huge array, isolating the cave entirely from the outside world. So, if they wanted to leave now, they had to first find a way to open up a gap in the array in front of them. Fortunately, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had a profound understanding of arrays as level 6 array masters. After studying the array that enveloped the cave for a while, they had a rough idea. Without much effort, they managed to create a temporary passage out of the cave without damaging the array. Buzz! As a pale blue light flashed, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan appeared outside the cave. Rustle! Only upon leaving the cave did the couple realize that they were in the middle of the ocean, and at a very deep part at that. They inferred this from the pressure of the surrounding seawater. They had to admit that placing such a cross-realm stone platform in such a secluded part of the ocean was indeed quite hidden. It was a location most people would never think of, and the pressure of the seawater here could even threaten the life of a golden core cultivator, reducing the chances of this site being discovered. After firmly memorizing the location, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan decided not to linger there any longer. The two of them immediately found a random direction and quickly headed towards it. Splash! The seawater surged. Given their speed, the marine creatures and even the demonic beasts had no time to react. As soon as they sensed the presence of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, their figures had already disappeared from their divine senses. Splash! Finally, after some time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan leaped out of the sea. The gentle sunlight fell from the sky. The couple stood in midair, feeling the flow of spiritual qi around them and couldn't help but be slightly surprised. They discovered that the concentration of spiritual qi in this world was slightly higher than that of their 9 essences cultivation world. Could this indicate that the status of this world was a notch higher than the 9 essences cultivation world they had come from? If that's the case, then the upper limit of cultivation in this world should be at the pinnacle of soul formation. However, like their own world, the channel for ascension in this world was also in a state of disrepair and blockage. This conclusion could be drawn by Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, both of whom had reached the late stage of soul formation, without the need to investigate the condition of this world's ascension platform. They could deduce this simply through their connection with the world around them. Any cultivator who had reached the late stage of soul formation could autonomously initiate the ascension spiritual guiding light. They had already attempted this briefly earlier, and there was no response at all from the so-called ascension spiritual guiding light. Therefore, they could only hope to find the necessary mystic color stone and celestial flight crystal in this world to repair the ascension platform. Let's first find out exactly where we have come to, Jiang Chengxuan suggested to Shen Ruyan. Shen Ruyan nodded. Soon, the couple disappeared from the spot. A few days later, in a cultivation city called Astral Cloud City, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were walking around. The city was bustling with crowds, appearing quite lively. At this moment, they had suppressed their cultivation to golden core. After several days of investigation, they finally learned that the world they were in was the very astral origin cultivation world that they had heard about from Huang Linger. It was the world her father, Huang Wenyu, had descended into through some unknown means. Astral Cloud City, where they were currently located, was a cultivation city on an island in the Heiai Oceanic region. The entire Heiai Oceanic region was dotted with countless cities, both large and small. In the smaller cities, the highest level of cultivation was only at foundation establishment. In larger cities like Astral Cloud City, there were nascent soul-perfected lords in charge. As for soul formation cultivators, they usually wouldn't bother with a place like the Xianxia Oceanic region. According to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's current understanding, the Xianxia Oceanic region was a relatively remote area. However, compared to the Nova waters in their 9 essences, this remote area of the astral origin cultivation world was still far superior. They wondered where Huang Wenyu, Linger's father, would be in the astral origin cultivation world. Not knowing they had arrived in the astral origin cultivation world was one thing, but now that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were aware they were in this particular world, they hoped to find Huang Wenyu if possible. Then, depending on his own wishes, he could choose to stay or return to the 9 essences with them. Of course, during this period of time, they also didn't forget the primary purpose of their trip, to find mystic color stone and celestial flight crystal. Senior cultivators, are you looking to purchase something? Unknowingly, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were already standing at the entrance of a huge building. The building was called the Astral Cloud House. It was the largest merchant house in Astral Cloud City. At this moment, a beautiful and graceful foundation establishment female cultivator was greeting Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan with a smile. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't refuse. They nodded and said, "You should have a map of the Xianxia Oceanic region and a map of the inland, right?" Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's question, the beautiful female cultivator immediately nodded. "Seniors, our Astral Cloud House has the map of the Xianxia Oceanic region and the map of the inland. May I know which place inland you want to go?" As she spoke, the beautiful female cultivator had already led Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan into the Astral Cloud House and opened a private room for them. "If possible, why don't you give us a copy of every map?" "Do you want a copy of every map?" Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's request, the beautiful female cultivator was clearly stunned. One had to know that the prices of the maps sold in their shop were not cheap. It was very difficult for ordinary golden core cultivators to buy one copy of all those maps. This also made the beautiful female cultivator immediately realize that she might have encountered 2 big customers. At that moment, she became even more respectful towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. She said, "Please wait a moment, both of you. The items you are asking for are beyond my authority. I will go and call the manager responsible for this to continue the discussion with you." After speaking, the beautiful female cultivator bowed deeply to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, and then quickly left the room. In the meantime, several waiters came in, bringing spiritual tea and snacks for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. It was evident that the beautiful female cultivator held them in high regard. The items brought to them, though insignificant for the current Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, were considered quite good for ordinary cultivators. The 2 were not in a hurry and waited quietly. It wasn't long before the door of their private room was opened. A woman in a purple dress, with a beauty mark on her lips and a graceful and dignified appearance, walked in. Her cultivation level was not what they had expected. She was not in the Violet Palace realm, but a genuine golden core cultivator. Upon seeing them, she immediately smiled and greeted Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. "Lam Linzian, greetings fellow Taoists." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded with a smile. Linzian said, "I heard that you 2 wish to buy maps of the Xianxia Oceanic region and the inland regions. Is that correct?" "That's right." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not deny it and nodded in response. Their thought was simple. Since they wanted to find mystic color stone and celestial flight crystal in this astral origin cultivation world, they naturally needed to understand the situation in each region of the astral origin cultivation world. Otherwise, it would be quite embarrassing if they got some news but didn't even know where the place was. As a seller, Lin Ziyan naturally wouldn't be too concerned about why Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan wanted to buy those maps. Then she said, "The maps you 2 want, our Astral Cloud House indeed has them." Saying this, she took out several jade slips from her body, then looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan with a smile. "The maps you want are all in these jade slips. The total price of these is 1.5 million spiritual stones. Of course, if you also want to buy the maps of other oceanic regions, I can offer you a discount. How about a total of 2 million spirit stones?" "Well, one." Hearing Lin Ziyan's words, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were tempted. They hadn't heard about the other oceanic regions in the astral origin cultivation world before. They decided to consider it as purchasing intelligence. Immediately, both of them nodded in agreement. In that case, please provide us with a copy of all the maps your store has. Oh, do you want the maps of those forbidden areas as well? Lin Zian was slightly surprised. But since there was business at hand, she naturally wouldn't turn it away. After thinking for a moment, she said to them, "In that case, the total will be 3 million spirit stones. Do you plan to pay with spirit stones or with items of equivalent value?" Spirit stones. Yang Chengxuan casually took a storage ring off his body and handed it to Lin Zian. "Fellow Taoist Lin, you can take a look." Before coming to the astral origin cultivation world, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had already prepared items like spirit stones. So, on their body, the situation where they only had high-level treasures but lacked basic items was unlikely to occur. Take care. After completing the transaction, Lin Zian personally escorted Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan out of Astral Cloud House. No dramatic incidents occurred. As the largest commercial building in Astral Cloud City, Astral Cloud House naturally had its own bottom line and integrity. Of course, the most important factor was that both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had displayed their late-stage golden core aura. This was sufficient to dispel any evil thoughts the other party might have had. After all, a mere 3 million spirit stones were not worth the intervention of a nascent soul cultivator. Even a false nascent soul cultivator would not act rashly without fully understanding the other party's background. In summary, the risk involved in robbing the couple was too great compared to the potential gain. Astral Cloud House was naturally willing to abide by the rules. As for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, they were even less interested in having any skirmishes in a land they weren't familiar with. A few days later, they boarded a fleet heading to the state of Tilankang in the inland. Unlike the 9 essences cultivation world, the entire astral origin cultivation world was divided into 8 major states. The scope of each state was comparable to a large region in the 9 essences cultivation world. This showed that the astral origin cultivation world was undoubtedly much larger than theirs. Right now, Jiang Chengxuan was heading to the state of Tilankang, which was ranked 5th in the entire astral origin cultivation world. It was home to forces like the Changkang Holy Land and the Wuheng Holy Land, both at the level of soul formation. In the astral origin cultivation world, any sect or family with a soul formation heavenly lord would be called a holy land. Like Changkang Holy Land, Wuheng Holy Land, and so on. As for why they didn't choose to fly directly to the inland, but opted for a fleet, there was no special reason. They simply wanted to travel and see the sights along the way. They also aimed to gather some basic knowledge and information from other people during the journey. Dear fellow Taoists, I am Chi Wanlai from Bamboo Pine Island. May I ask if you too are also heading to the state of Tilankang for the secret realm of the Hong River? Just then, a man in a black and white striped long robe approached Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan with a smile and greeted them with a cupped fist. Hearing his words, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were slightly startled. They had no idea what the secret realm of the Hong River was. The two didn't bother to pretend much. At their level of cultivation and strength, there was no need for such superficial acts. Their decision to suppress their cultivation to golden core was simply to avoid attracting too much attention at the beginning. However, this did not mean they had to conform to the behaviors typical of the golden core cultivators in their actions. So the next moment, Shen Ruyan, standing beside Jiang Chengxuan, directly asked, "Fellow Taoist Qi, may I ask what kind of place the secret realm of the Hong River you mentioned is? What is it about?" Perhaps surprised by Shen Ruyan's direct manner of speaking, which seemed unguarded as if making it obvious they were from out of town, Chi Wanlai was momentarily taken aback. He soon showed a wry smile. "It seems that the two of you came from those places in the north, right? No wonder you don't know about the secret realm of the Hong River." Then he explained the details of the secret realm of the Hong River to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. The so-called secret realm of the Hong River is a secret realm jointly controlled by the Changkang Holy Land and the Wuheng Holy Land. It opens once every 100 years, each time for about half a year. During this period, the number of people entering must reach a certain limit. otherwise the realm will close prematurely. This is the main reason why these two holy lands allow external cultivators to enter. I see. Hearing Qi Wanlai's description of the secret realm of the Hong River, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded in understanding. In that case, there must be certain conditions for us to enter the secret realm, right? That's right. Qi Wanlai seemed to have adapted to the couple's way of speaking and nodded in response. For external cultivators like us who wish to enter the secret realm, we must first submit a level 4 spiritual item to the two holy lands. Depending on the rarity of the spiritual item, the duration of your stay in the realm is determined. Moreover, when you exit the realm, you need to submit 30% of any treasures obtained to each of the two holy lands. In other words, you can keep at most 40% for yourself. That much? Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were somewhat surprised. In that case, are there still many who choose to enter the secret realm of the Hong River? Shen Ruyan was curious. After all, one has to submit a level 4 spiritual item just to enter the realm. Most importantly, exploring such realms often depends on luck. If you're lucky, that's great, but if not, it's normal to come out empty-handed. Of course. Qi Wanlai nodded. Because within the secret realm of the Hong River, there exist items that can aid in forming a nascent soul. Moreover, if you really find such a nascent soul item, neither Changkang Holy Land nor Wuheng Holy Land will forcibly snatch it away from you. In that case, it's still acceptable. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were very clear about the importance of nascent soul spiritual items for golden core cultivators. Come, fellow Taoist Qi, continue to tell us what else you know in the state of Tilanking. As Jiang Chengxuan raised his hand, a jade table suddenly appeared in front of the three of them. Immediately afterward, a teapot appeared on the jade table, from which wafted steaming vapors and a fragrant aroma. Qi Wanlai, who had been looking for an excuse to leave, was immediately captivated by the fragrance. Because at this moment, he could clearly feel that his divine sense, under the nourishment of the fragrance, seemed to have become slightly stronger. What kind of tea was this? Just the fragrance alone had such an extraordinary effect. Drinking it might significantly strengthen his divine sense. Before he could ponder further, Jiang Chengxuan pushed a cup of the brewed tea towards Qi Wanlai with a smile. Fellow Taoist Qi, you can try my spirit-strengthening tea. I don't think you'll be disappointed. As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan made an inviting gesture to Qi Wanlai. Seeing this, Qi Wanlai couldn't help but take a deep breath. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. Instantly, an extremely cool sensation spread from his throat to his limbs and finally merged into his brow, noticeably strengthening his divine sense. This tea. Qi Wanlai suddenly opened his eyes, looking at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan in surprise. Then, without any further hesitation, he drank several sips in quick succession. At this moment, Qi Wanlai could clearly feel that his divine sense was more than a level stronger than before. What kind of tea was this? How could it have such a powerful effect on one's divine sense? How is it? This tea is pretty good, right? Yang Chengxuan smiled as he filled Qi Wanlai's cup again. If you like it, drink more. I only hope that fellow Taoist Qi won't forget to tell us about the state of Tilanking. However, their actions naturally attracted the attention of others on the boat. Two burly men, both late-stage golden core cultivators, suddenly turned their gaze towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Oh no! Realizing the attention of the two burly men, Qi Wanlai, who was about to continue drinking the tea, suddenly looked a bit troubled. He gave a wry smile to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said, Fellow Taoists, you shouldn't have taken out such a thing here. Well, seeing that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't seem to care much, Qi Wanlai communicated with them through a secret voice transmission. The two individuals we just saw are the Zhu brothers, well-known figures in our Hanhai Oceanic region. Zhu Beiyuan and Zhu Beihang. Although they don't appear to be much on the surface, those who know them are aware that behind the scenes, they are known as the kings of the sea hell. I think you can understand the implication. Oh, is that so? However, the reaction of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan once again surprised Qi Wanlai. It seemed they didn't take his words, or the Zhu brothers, very seriously. This made Qi Wanlai take a deep look at them. He decided not to ponder on this, and, instead, started discussing other information about the state of Tilanking as they requested. According to Qi Wanlai, there would soon be a nascent soul-level Tao discussion conference in the state of Xianxia. At that time, not only the nascent soul-perfected lords from Changkung Holy Land and Wuheng Holy Land would attend, but also nascent soul-perfected lords from other states. Apart from that, in a place called Moonlight City in the state of Xianxia, a large-scale auction was apparently going to be held. As for what would be auctioned, it was not something that Qi Wanlai could know. Besides these two pieces of news, Qi Wanlai shared other information with Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, giving them a more comprehensive understanding of the situation in the state of Tianqiang. Gentlemen, do you mind if we sit here too? At this moment, the Zhu brothers, who had been glancing at them from time to time, suddenly approached Jiang Chengxuan and his group. This change made Qi Wanlai, who was sitting opposite Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, visibly tense. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan continued drinking their tea as if nothing had happened. This caused the Zhu brothers' expressions to darken slightly. Elder brother Zhu Beiyuan said, "You too, what's the matter? Don't you welcome us, or do you have some issue with us?" Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan finally turned to look at them. Jiang Chengxuan said, "Who are you that we should welcome you? Are you nascent soul perfected lords or soul formation heavenly lords?" Before the Zhu brothers could reply, Jiang Chengxuan continued, "Since you are neither, you have no right to demand our attention. Get lost." This blunt dismissal visibly darkened the Zhu brothers' faces. However, it was unclear if they refrained from taking action due to the rules on the ship or some other reason. Surprisingly, the Zhu brothers did not react violently on the spot. Instead, they gave Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan a cold, deep look before turning away and leaving. This left Qi Wanlai completely speechless. He wondered where these two bold people had come from, speaking and acting so impulsively. He decided it was best to keep his distance from them, to avoid getting involved in their troubles. Jiang Chengxuan seemed to notice Qi Wanlai's thoughts and smiled at him, nodding in appreciation. "Fellow Taoist Qi, thank you for the information you just provided. It's getting late, so if there's nothing else, we shall take our leave." As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan began to put away the items in front of him. Qi Wanlai was relieved and promptly nodded with a smile. "In that case, we'll meet again next time. I also have some other matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave now." After saying this, Qi Wanlai walked away in another direction. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, seeing this, didn't say much and soon returned to their luxurious cabin. From their current location to the state of Xianxia, it would take at least several months, even at the fastest speed. During this time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan wouldn't just stay in their cabin, but would use their own ways to gather the information they needed from the people on the fleet. As the fleet they were on was about to dock, the Zhu brothers, who had previously had a conflict with Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, could no longer restrain themselves. The younger brother Zhu Beihang said, "Brother, our fleet is about to dock. Should we make our move on them now or wait until we're ashore? I've already asked around, and these two are definitely from the north or the far east. They don't know anything about our area. Most importantly, everything they've taken out these days has been of high quality. And that's only what we've seen. Who knows what else they have on them? If we miss this opportunity, who knows how long it will be before we run into such people again." Zhu Beiyuan agreed with his brother's sentiment. Although targeting Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan would inevitably involve some risk, if they could handle it cleanly and acquire some exceptional items from them, the risk would be worth it. Zhu Beiyuan said, "In that case, we'll wait until we reach the shore before joining forces with everyone to attack." Clearly, the Zhu brothers' plan wasn't just a two-man operation. They were wise enough to know that individuals like Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan would have many trump cards up their sleeves. So, for safety, they had allied with some other cultivators on the ship. Pub. As time passed, the fleet Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were on arrived at a place called Yunbo Seaport. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As the fleet neared the port, 7 or 8 streaks of light swiftly approached from the distance. When they got closer, the person in charge of Jiang Chengxuan's fleet, a false nascent soul cultivator, flew out to meet these streaks of light. After a while, the 7 or 8 lights dispersed, and the leader, the false nascent soul cultivator, announced to everyone on the ship, "Fellow cultivators, our journey ends here. Please gather your belongings. If needed, we shall meet again in the future." Following his announcement, numerous figures leapt off the ship, quickly vanishing into the distance on their flying swords. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Only Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were not in a hurry. After they got off the fleet, they began to look around. Not far from the port, about several dozen miles away, there was a small, scattered marketplace set up by independent cultivators. After a brief stroll through the market, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan headed straight to the nearest immortal city, Seafall City. This city was under the jurisdiction of a nascent soul sect known as the East Sea Sect. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan hadn't gone far from Seafall City when they suddenly noticed 7 or 8 streaks of light chasing after them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With a series of swift whooshing sounds, the Zhu brothers, leading 5 or 6 cultivators, blocked their path. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan glanced at them casually. Jiang Chengxuan asked indifferently, "What do you want?" Hey kid, haven't you figured it out yet?" sneered Zhu Beihang, the younger of the Zhu brothers. "Hand over everything you have. If you do, we can give you a quick death. Otherwise, he." His words trailed off as his gaze shifted suggestively over Shen Ruyan. That look made Shen Ruyan's eyes turn cold. Without any visible movement from her, Zhu Beihang, who had just been sneering and talking nonstop, suddenly found himself enveloped in a burst of lightning. Then a scream of agony filled the air. Silver, blue, and red electric arcs burst out from Zhu Beihang's eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. In just an instant, his entire body turned into charred remains, dead beyond doubt. This scene stunned everyone present, especially Zhu Beiyuan, Zhu Beihang's elder brother. He was well aware of his younger brother's strength, who had once managed to escape from a false nascent soul cultivator. Yet now, they hadn't even seen how Shen Ruyan had made her move before Zhu Beihang was reduced to a charred corpse. The power of their adversaries was terrifying beyond imagination. The others, not being fools, realized they had kicked an iron plate. They immediately started apologizing to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, including Zhu Beiyuan. "Seniors, it was all a misunderstanding. It was all my brother's fault. He was deluded and forced us to intercept you. We beg for your forgiveness and hope you won't hold this against us." "Absolutely, it was all a misunderstanding. I'm an elder of the Yuejian Pavilion, and I beg you to spare us in consideration of my sect." Another man, dressed in dark blue, also spoke apologetically. The rest followed suit, explaining and apologizing. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, of course, didn't buy their excuses. Over the years, they had encountered all kinds of people. Therefore, in the next moment, Shen Ruyan raised her hand. Boom! A bolt of lightning suddenly struck from the sky. Zhu Beiyuan and the others didn't even have time to react before they were hit by the lightning. In the blink of an eye, 6 or 7 charred bodies fell from the sky. At the same time, in Seafall City, a middle-aged scholar sensed the commotion from afar, and his expression shifted subtly. He was Pei Zhenhao, a nascent soul cultivator from the East Sea Sect, responsible for guarding Seafall City. Noticing the disturbance, he thought for a moment, and then flew towards the location of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Back at the scene, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were about to continue towards Seafall City when they looked up and saw a streak of light rapidly approaching from the distance. They recognized that the incoming person was a third-level nascent soul cultivator, likely the guardian cultivator of Seafall City. He must have sensed the disturbance and was coming to investigate. "Esteemed cultivators ahead, may I inquire if you are from the Hanhai Oceanic region? I am Pei Zhenhao of the East Sea Sect. Is there any way I can assist you?" Pei Zhenhao's voice reached them even before his arrival. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were instantly alert. A nascent soul cultivator from the East Sea Sect could be a good person to befriend, given the importance of the mystic color stone and the celestial flight crystal. They couldn't be sure if anyone in the astral origin cultivation world was aware of the true uses of these 2 items. Revealing their purpose prematurely might invite unnecessary complications, especially considering the matter involved the repair of the Ascension platform. With these thoughts, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan quickly decided on their approach. When Pei Zhenhao approached, the 2 of them immediately smiled and cupped their fists. "So you're a fellow Taoist from the East Sea Sect?" "You're right, we did come from the Hanhai Oceanic region. We just encountered a few bandits, so we took care of them." "I see." Pei Zhenhao nodded. He didn't pay much heed to their encounter with the bandits. In the end, they were just some small fries. What truly intrigued him were Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan themselves. He suddenly realized that with his third layer nascent soul cultivation, he couldn't discern their real cultivation levels. This indicated two possibilities. Either their realm was far beyond his, or they possessed some secret treasure concealing their true strength. In any case, he couldn't afford to underestimate them on his territory. After a moment of thought, Pei Zhenhao said, "May I know the names of the two fellow Taoists? I am Jiang Chengxuan, and this is my Tao companion Shen Ruyan." In the astral origin cultivation world, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan saw no need to hide their real names. "So you are Taoist Jiang and Taoist Shen." Pei Zhenhao's face showed a slight smile. "Since you have come from afar, are you perhaps here for the upcoming Tao discussion conference and the auction at Moonlight City?" Hearing Pei Zhenhao mention this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded in agreement. "That's right. We suppose you, Taoist Pei, will also be attending, right?" "Haha, naturally." Seeing that he already knew their intentions for coming here, Pei Zhenhao let down his guard a little. He thought for a moment and then suggested, "Since your goal is to attend the Tao discussion conference and the Moonlight City auction, why not rest in my Seafall City for a few days? Then we can travel together. I wonder what the two of you think." Pei Zhenhao had thought it through. Instead of letting Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan wander around the city, he might as well invite them to the city. If they had no hidden agenda, then all was well. If they did, he was confident that within his city's array, they wouldn't be able to stir up much trouble. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were well aware of Pei Zhenhao's cautiousness, but they didn't mind it. They understood that in their own territory, the sudden appearance of two strangers of the same cultivation level would naturally make anyone instinctively alert. This was understandable. At this point, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not plan to be high-profile. Staying with Pei Zhenhao, a local authority, was undoubtedly a good choice. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and cupped his hands. "In that case, I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist Pei." As they spoke, Pei Zhenhao led Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan towards Seafall City. However, as soon as the three entered Seafall City, an 8th-level golden core male cultivator found Pei Zhenhao and reported with a worried expression, "Master, that person has started his actions in our city again." "What?" Pei Zhenhao's face turned grim upon hearing this. He asked with a somber tone, "Who is the target this time? Have we found any traces of the culprit?" The male cultivator at the 8th level of the golden core realm shook his head in shame. "Not yet. In addition, his target this time is a vice pavilion master of the artifact storage pavilion. He's at the 6th level of the golden core and has already been killed." ********. The words of the male cultivator at the 8th level of the golden core realm immediately infuriated Pei Zhenhao. "Let's go, bring me to the artifact storage pavilion now. I refuse to believe that this person can cause so much trouble in my Seafall City without leaving any traces." As he spoke, Pei Zhenhao suddenly remembered something and turned to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. "My apologies to you both, but something has come up in Seafall City. How about I arrange a place for you to rest for now? Once I've dealt with the situation, I'll come back to converse properly with you both. How does that sound?" Hearing Pei Zhenhao's words, the male cultivator at the 8th level of the golden core was shocked. He knew his Shifu's temper very well. Only cultivators on the same level as him could make him treat them with such an attitude. In other words, the two cultivators were actually nascent soul perfected lords. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other, and then Jiang Chengxuan replied, "My wife and I have no objections to fellow Taoist Pei's arrangements. However, if fellow Taoist Pei doesn't mind, why don't you bring us along to take a look? We might be able to help. Of course, if it's inconvenient for you, stay at your residence." Pei Zhenhao was momentarily taken aback by Jiang Chengxuan's offer, but he quickly realized the potential benefits. Indeed, these two individuals in front of him were nascent soul, perfected lords like himself. They might have some unknown trump cards in their hands. They might actually be able to assist in resolving this knotty issue at hand. Most importantly, Pei Zhenhao was a little worried about leaving two cultivators of the same realm in his residence. If he could get them to go with him, he would be able to save himself from this worry. At the thought of this, Pei Zhenhao finally squeezed out a smile. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and nodded. "In that case, I'll have to trouble the two of you. To be honest, I've really encountered a rather troublesome matter in my seaful city. He then shared the details of the situation with Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. It turned out that recently, a demonic cultivator had appeared in Seafall City, targeting individuals in the city for his sinister deeds. So far, including the recent victim from the artifact storage pavilion, there had been 5 or 6 casualties. What troubled Pei Zhenhao the most was the demonic cultivator's adeptness at staying hidden and his keen intuition for danger. Pei Zhenhao had attempted several ambushes, but the demonic cultivator always seemed to sense them beforehand, not only evading capture but also turning the tables by hunting down several decoys, leaving Pei Zhenhao, the city's person in charge, in a difficult position. Pei Zhenhao was considering reporting the matter to his sect, requesting assistance from other senior brothers and sisters to eliminate this threat from the city. However, before he could act, the demonic cultivator struck again, assassinating a vice master of the artifact storage pavilion within his own refining chamber. A moment later, in the artifact storage pavilion of Seafall City, Pei Zhenhao stood grimly over a withered corpse, his face ashen with fury and despair. Beside him was his disciple Jin Yuanping, the 8th-level gold core cultivator, along with the pavilion's master, Taoist Sanfa, a 9th-level gold core cultivator. It could be seen that although Taoist Sanfa was furious, he was more terrified. The mysterious demonic cultivator had already claimed the lives of 5 or 6 gold core cultivators in Seafall City, and now he had daringly targeted Sanfa's junior brother. If this continued then, who could guarantee that the other party would not target him, the master of the artifact storage pavilion? Senior Pei. Taoist Sanfa braced himself and looked at Pei Zhenhao in front of him. Senior Pei, do you have any way to help me find that demonic cultivator and avenge my junior brother and the artifact storage pavilion? Such words should not be asked by a golden core cultivator like him. No matter what, Pei Zhenhao was a nascent soul-perfected lord. He naturally had his own way of doing things. Moreover, it could even be seen as a demand or an accusation and could provoke Pei Zhenhao's anger. If Sanfa encountered someone temperamental or hostile, he might even get killed for his impudence. However, at this moment, Taoist Sanfa really had no choice. One had to know that in the current Seafall City, aside from Pei Zhenhao, everyone else could only enter, but they were not allowed to leave. The city was under strict lockdown. Although Taoist Sanfa understood that Pei Zhenhao's intention was to flush out the hidden demonic cultivator, the problem was that, even after so much time had passed, they hadn't succeeded in doing so. Instead, the demonic cultivator had claimed more lives, intensifying the fear and urgency. He was really afraid that the demonic cultivator would target him. Pei Zhenhao was obviously aware of what Taoist Sanfa was worried about. However, at this moment, he truly had no way to find the demonic cultivator in a short amount of time. Similarly, Pei Zhenhao couldn't possibly lift the lockdown of Seafall City at this moment, allowing the people inside a chance to leave. Just as he was about to find an excuse to dismiss Sanfa, Jiang Chengxuan, who had been observing everything by his side, suddenly interjected. Fellow Taoist Pei, if I am not mistaken, the cultivation technique practiced by this demonic cultivator should be one that specializes in absorbing others' essence. If you don't mind, maybe I could try and see if I can track down this demonic cultivator. Huh? Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Pei Zhenhao's expression clearly showed surprise. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan and said, "Can you discern what kind of technique this demonic cultivator practices? Do you really have a way to find him?" Shen Ruyan suddenly interrupted with a smile. "Fellow Taoist Pei, you might not be aware, but my husband is proficient in divination. With the presence of this victim's body, my husband can calculate the whereabouts of the culprit with a probability of over 60%. Shen Ruyan was obviously being modest. However, when Pei Zhenhao heard this, his eyes lit up. If Jiang Chengxuan truly excelled in divination, then there was a very high possibility that he could locate the demonic cultivator. At the thought of this, Pei Zhenhao immediately cupped his fist solemnly at Jiang Chengxuan and said sincerely, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, please lend me a hand. If we can really find traces of that demonic cultivator this time, I, Pei Zhenhao, will definitely reward you heavily." At this point, the demonic cultivator could be considered a thorn in Pei Zhenhao's side. If Jiang Chengxuan could really help him resolve this issue, he was more than willing to express his gratitude generously. Hee, you're too polite, fellow Taoist Pei. Yang Chengxuan smiled and waved his hand. For me, this is just a small effort. You don't need to thank me. As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan didn't wait for Pei Zhenhao to speak again, and directly extended his hand to pluck a dried strand of hair from the corpse. Soon, a faint light began to emanate from his fingertips. After a short while, Jiang Chengxuan opened his eyes, having completed his divination. Pei Zhenhao somewhat impatiently asked, Taoist Jiang, what did you find? Jiang Chengxuan smiled and said, Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. He then reported a specific address. Upon hearing this, Pei Zhenhao's eyes immediately lit up. He exclaimed good 3 times and set off with Jiang Chengxuan and his wife towards the location. In a bustling market of Sifal City, a seemingly ordinary man was casually strolling through. He occasionally stopped, loitering for a moment at various stalls, then moved on just like everyone else, heading to different areas. However, at this moment, several rays of light suddenly flew over from the distant sky. Some sharp-eyed people in the market immediately recognized that among the people who came this time was actually the current person in charge of Sifal City, Pei Zhenhao. He was a real power figure within the East Sea sect, a nascent soul cultivator. The ordinary-looking man, just about to enter a shop, suddenly narrowed his eyes subtly. Projection of the shadowless demon lord too. But quickly, he regained his composure, looking up at Pei Zhenhao and others who descended from the sky with curiosity and awe, just like the other cultivators. Boom! However, just as Pei Zhenhao and his group landed in the market, an overwhelming aura burst forth from Pei Zhenhao, suffocating for anyone present. In an instant, the entire market was enveloped in Pei Zhenhao 1's aura. Everyone's expressions changed. Even the ordinary-looking man's expression suddenly froze. At that moment, he distinctly felt a gaze, capable of making any golden core cultivator tremble, land directly on him. This caused his heart to skip a beat. What the hell was going on? Why did he lock his gaze directly on me? It must be a coincidence. Yes, definitely a coincidence. No one in Sifal City could possibly recognize my true identity. Even Pei Zhenhao, despite being a nascent soul cultivator, couldn't do that. These thoughts rapidly crossed his mind, and the seemingly ordinary man, initially slightly panicked, gradually calmed down. Without prior knowledge of his true identity, it would indeed be difficult for anyone to connect this man to the cruel actions of the demonic cultivator. However, now that his identity was known, his subtle reactions just now, observed by Pei Zhenhao, a nascent soul cultivator, were indeed suspicious. What's going on? Why has Pei Zhenhao shifted his attention away from me? Did he really discover something? The seemingly ordinary man began to doubt. However, he quickly denied his speculation. It's impossible. If he really suspected me, he wouldn't have waited until now to test me. There must be some detail I've overlooked. Stay calm, let me think carefully about where the problem lies. Seeing that the ordinary-looking man was still trying his best to stay calm, Pei Zhenhao, who already knew this person's identity, could not help but sigh. No wonder he was unable to detect him all along. Such mental fortitude and ability to conceal his aura were indeed extraordinary. If not for fellow Taoist Jiang's help, it would have been very troublesome for him to find this person. As he thought about this, the killing intent in Pei Zhenhao's eyes grew stronger and stronger. This also made the ordinary-looking man feel more and more pressured. No, I can't continue like this. At this moment, the ordinary-looking man knew that his identity might have been exposed. Although he was unsure how his identity was revealed, further pondering was meaningless at this stage. His eyes flashed with determination, and his aura changed drastically in an instant. The next moment, the ordinary man suddenly exploded into shadows that scattered in all directions. Indeed, it's you, the demon child of the celestial soul sect. Different from the 9 essences cultivation world, the demonic cultivators in the astral origin cultivation world were not hunted down by everyone in the world. Instead, they formed a balance of power with the righteous cultivators, each with their own inheritances. Although demonic cultivators in the astral origin cultivation world were known for their ruthless and cruel actions, they shared a common trait with the righteous cultivators. They didn't harm ordinary mortals. This was likely why they weren't collectively hunted down. At this moment, seeing the ordinary-looking man's actions, Pei Zhenhao snorted disdainfully through his nose. If the man hadn't been identified, it would be one thing, but now that he had been found, Pei Zhenhao couldn't let him escape under his noses. Suddenly, a blue cover flew out of Pei Zhenhao's sleeve, possessing an immense suction force. In just a moment, the black shadows that were fleeing quickly were all sucked in by the cover. Arg! A miserable scream suddenly echoed in the air. At this moment, everyone saw blue flames immediately rise from the surface of the bodies of the black shadows that were sucked in by the blue cover. In just a moment, the black shadows were incinerated by the blue flames. Only an ordinary-looking man was left struggling crazily. Pei Zhenhao, you old fool, I'm a demon child personally appointed by the ancestor of the Celestial Soul Sect. If you kill me, it will lead to a deathly feud between our sects. Dare to threaten me? Pei Zhenhao's eyes turned sharp as he increased the intensity of the blue flames, saying coldly, if that's the case, let your ancestor come to me. I want to see what your Celestial Soul Sect can do to my East Sea Sect. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the blue flames in the blue cover suddenly surged. Just as the ordinary-looking man was about to be completely refined by the blue flames, an extremely powerful divine sense suddenly rose from the blue cover. Who dares to kill a demon child of the Celestial Soul Sect? Accompanying this declaration, a male face full of malevolence appeared within the blue cover. Pei Zhenhao's pupils suddenly constricted when he saw the man one's face. It's you, Shadowless Demon Lord. Oh, it's you, Pei Zhenhao. The face, identified as Shadowless Demon Lord by Pei Zhenhao, frowned, then said in a deep voice, release my disciple and you can name your terms. Otherwise, the consequences are something you, Pei Zhenhao, cannot afford. Threatened so blatantly by Shadowless Demon Lord, Pei Zhenhao's face became extremely ugly, especially with Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, two fellow cultivators present. His eyes flickered with murderous intent, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Eventually, he managed to maintain a grim expression and said to the projection of Shadowless Demon Lord, your disciple killed people in my Seafall City for cultivation purposes without any reason. Your Celestial Soul Sect must give me an explanation for this. Fine, name your terms, Shadowless Demon Lord responded succinctly. Knowing he didn't have much leverage over Shadowless Demon Lord, Pei Zhenhao didn't intend to seek humiliation upon himself. After a brief contemplation, he said, from now on, your Celestial Soul Sect must not cause trouble in the territory under my charge. Agreed. Anything else? Shadowless Demon Lord asked. Pei Zhenhao took a deep breath and continued, I need a Dawnstar pill and a promise from you. Of course, this promise will be within reasonable limits. The Dawnstar pill mentioned by Pei Zhenhao was an elixir used by early-stage nascent soul cultivators in the astral origin cultivation world to break through their cultivation bottlenecks. It was extremely precious. Only late-stage nascent soul cultivators could easily obtain it. For early-stage nascent soul cultivators like Pei Zhenhao, it was a rare item that might never be obtained in a lifetime without good luck. Shadowless Demon Lord readily agreed to Pei Zhenhao's request, nodding his head. I will have someone deliver the Dawnstar pill to you later. If there are no other demands, then release my disciple. Despite his reluctance to let such a person go, Pei Zhenhao had to go against his wishes and release Yu Hunzi, the ordinary-looking man, as the situation progressed to this point. Swoosh! As soon as Yu Hunzi was freed from the blue cover, he shot a venomous glance at Pei Zhenhao. The next moment, his figure was enveloped by the projection of Shadowless Demon Lord. With a swift motion, they broke through the blockade of Seafall City and disappeared into the sky above the city. After some time, inside a grand palace in Seafall City, which was Pei Zhenhao's residence, he faced Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, serving them spiritual tea. With a somewhat helpless expression, he asked, do you two think I shouldn't have let Yu Hunzi go? Jiang Chengxuan shook his head with a smile. Fellow Taoist Pei, don't worry about it. We were just helping out and the decision was yours to make. However, we are indeed curious about Shadowless Demon Lord. What's his story that even you seem so wary of him? Pei Zhenhao's expression turned serious when Shadowless Demon Lord was mentioned. He pondered for a moment before explaining. You might not be aware, but Shadowless Demon Lord is one of the longest-living nascent soul perfected lord of the Celestial Soul Sect. As far as I know, his age is nearing 2,000 years. 2,000 years? Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were visibly surprised. They knew that the lifespan limit for a nascent soul perfected lord was 2,000 years. Now that shadowless demon lord had actually lived for 2,000 years, didn't that mean that he was about to reach the end of his lifespan? As if reading their thoughts, Pei Zhenhao could not help but sigh. Do you think that shadowless demon lord is closeted off his lifespan? Isn't that the case? Shen Ruyan asked curiously. That's not wrong to think that way, Pei Zhenhao admitted with another bitter smile. He continued, but the issue is, in his early years, shadowless demon lord consumed a longevity spiritual apricot, extending his lifespan to 3,000 years. However, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was this person's cultivation. It was said that, when he was 1,500 years old, he had already reached the 8th level of nascent soul. Now that 500 years have passed, none of us can be sure if this person's cultivation has already reached the peak of nascent soul. If so, even with the resources of our East Sea sect, we can't afford to openly confront him. I see. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan now understood the gravity of the situation. Indeed, a sect with a peak nascent soul perfected lord was completely different from a sect without a peak nascent soul perfected lord. Everyone knew that there was a huge gap in strength between the early-stage nascent soul and the late-stage nascent soul. However, very few people knew that after the late-stage nascent soul, there was also an incomparably huge gap between each level. Especially those at the peak of nascent soul, they could easily suppress cultivators at the 7th or 8th level. No wonder Pei Zhenhao was so unconfident when facing shadowless demon lord. If he really offended the other party today, then one day in the future, he might very well die in the other party's hands. Even if he had the support of the East Sea sect, it was useless. Unless there was also a cultivator at the peak of nascent soul in the East Sea sect. However, judging from Pei Zhenhao's reaction just now, there was obviously no such existence in the East Sea sect. Next, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan took the opportunity to ask some other questions. Pei Zhenhao patiently answered them one by one. Just like that. About half a month later, Pei Zhenhao found Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and told them that the Tao discussion conference was about to begin. If there was nothing else, they could set off now. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had no objections. At that moment, the three of them left Seafall City together and headed towards Daylight City, where the Tao conference was held. When the three of them arrived at the venue of the Tao discussion conference in Daylight City, they realized that many nascent soul cultivators had already gathered here. Among them were several late-stage nascent soul == cultivators. However, what truly caught the attention of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan was the unexpected presence of an old acquaintance they hadn't seen in a long time. And that person was, shockingly, Huang Wenyu, who had disappeared from the 9 Essences cultivation world and accidentally entered this astral origin cultivation world. He was Huang Linger's father. At this moment, his cultivation had already reached the 5th level of nascent soul. He was talking to a few nascent soul cultivators he was familiar with. Huang Wenyu could not help but turn his head, as if he sensed someone looking at him. Once glance and he was left stunned. He even wondered if his eyes were playing tricks on him. He actually saw the two of them here. Brother Huang, what's wrong? At this moment, a refined man beside him who was conversing with him could not help but speak in confusion. Following his gaze, the refined man saw Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Pei Zhenhao. Why, Brother Huang, you know fellow Taoist Pei from the East Sea sect. The refined man subconsciously thought that Huang Wenyu was looking at Pei Zhenhao, who was next to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. After all, the refined man did not know Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. He had never seen them participating in such an event. It was normal for such a misunderstanding to happen. Wenyu too. However, Huang Wenyu shook his head and said, "No, Brother Chen, I need to excuse myself for a moment. I've indeed seen some old friends here whom I haven't met for a long time." With that, Huang Wenyu quickly walked towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Pei Zhenhao, noticing Huang Wenyu's actions, looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan with some surprise, saying, "That is Huang Wenyu, the vice leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. Fellow Taoist Jiang and Shen, do you know him?" A West Ocean Commerce Alliance. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were surprised. It seemed that Huang Wenyu was doing well in the astral origin cultivation world. As he thought about it, Huang Wenyu had already arrived in front of Jiang Chengxuan and the others. He first cupped his hands towards Pei Zhenhao and greeted him, "Fellow Taoist." Pei. Then he looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. At this moment, the two of them did not play the guessing game with Huang Wenyu. Seeing this, they immediately smiled and cupped their fists. "Brother Huang, long time no see, how are you now?" Upon hearing their words, Huang Wenyu's heart instantly surged with many emotions. However, he tried his best to maintain a calm expression and revealed a smile. "It's indeed been a long time." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Jiang Chengxuan said to Pei Zhenhao, "Fellow Taoist Pei, I'm sorry, we might need to excuse ourselves for a while." Pei Zhenhao immediately nodded in understanding and smiled. "As you wish, Taoist Jiang. If you need anything, you can look for me again." Jiang Chengxuan immediately smiled and nodded. A moment later, the three of them arrived at a relatively quiet corner. Huang Wenyu raised his hand and set up a soundproof barrier. Then, he looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan impatiently. "Brother Jiang, Fairy Shen, why are you here in the astral origin cultivation world? How did you get here? Moreover, where's my daughter Linger? How is she now, do you know?" His rapid-fire questions reflected the turmoil in his heart. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could understand his feelings. So, they were waiting for Huang Wenyu to calm down before replying with a smile. "Your daughter Linger is with us now. Of course, when we say with us, we don't mean that she came to the astral origin cultivation world with us, but is staying with our Jiang family. Additionally, her cultivation has already broken through to nascent soul. You can rest assured, she is doing very well. As for how we ended up in the astral origin cultivation world, that's a long story. Let's find a time after the Tao conference to sit down and talk about it in detail." Indeed, given the circumstances, it wasn't the right place to discuss these matters. Huang Wenyu, knowing that his daughter was safe and had even advanced to nascent soul, was overjoyed and satisfied. He hadn't even dreamed that his daughter, Huang Linger, would one day step into nascent soul like him. After knowing this, he was no longer in a hurry, and his heart slowly calmed down. At that moment, two majestic and luxurious flying ships approached from the sky, one from the south and one from the north. The southern one belonged to the Changkang Holy Land, and the northern one to the Wuheng Holy Land. Both flying boats carried many nascent soul-perfected lords, including several late-stage and even peak ones. Endless multicolored light shone forth from their bodies, accompanied by immortal music and flowers. Their grandiose arrival instantly set them apart from the other cultivators present. Huang Wenyu immediately started explaining to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan about the Changkang Holy Land and the Wuheng Holy Land, and what great deeds these two holy lands had done. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan listened. They also knew that Huang Wenyu had done this so that they could quickly understand the situation of the people present, as well as the structure of the astral origin cultivation world and the state of Tiankang. At this moment, with the arrival of the cultivators from the Changkang Holy Land and the Wuhan Holy Land, the Tao discussion conference finally officially began. The first to go on stage were naturally the cultivators from the two holy lands. Then, there were some nascent soul cultivators who were famous in the state of Tiankang. Lastly were the nascent soul independent cultivators of the state of Tiankang. However, it was undeniable that no one who could reach nascent soul was ordinary. Despite being independent, each of these cultivators had their unique strengths and capabilities. This conference lasted for several months. During this period, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also went on stage and talked about their insights, including Huang Wenyu and Pei Zhenhao, who had come with them. After the conference ended, what followed was the trading session among the nascent soul cultivators. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked around and realized that a trade fair of this level was meaningless to them. Almost nothing that those people took out was worthy of their attention. Even the items that the peak nascent soul cultivators from the Changkang Holy Land and the Wuhan Holy Land took out were still not worthy of their attention. Huang Wenyu noticed their lack of interest in the items being offered. This made him very puzzled. If Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan lacked the right items for exchange, they would have shown signs of regret or disappointment. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were very calm from the beginning to the end. This was very strange. Could it be that none of the items brought forth by so many people caught their attention? Despite his curiosity, Huang Wenyu refrained from asking further questions. As the trading session came to a close, another half-month had passed. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Huang Wenyu bid farewell to their acquaintances and found a place to sit down and talk. During this process, Huang Wenyu first recounted how he came to the astral origin cultivation world and his current situation. At the same time, he also expressed his longing for his hometown and daughter. In the past years, he had been looking for a way to return to the cultivation world of the 9 essences. However, to his disappointment, after so many years, he still could not find a way to return. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't conceal anything and shared their own experiences, including some of the events that had transpired in the 9 essences cultivation world. After spending months together, they could confirm that Huang Wenyu had remained consistent with his past self and hadn't changed much. He still identified himself as a cultivator from the 9 essences cultivation world, not having shifted his allegiance despite living in the astral origin cultivation world for many years. This was the main reason why Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were willing to share the purpose of their visit to this world with Huang Wenyu. After all, the matter concerned the repair of the Ascension platform, and if leaked, the soul formation cultivators of the astral origin cultivation world realm would go absolutely insane. Although Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were not afraid of any soul formation cultivator with their current strength, such a situation would undoubtedly bring significant obstacles and trouble to their quest for the mystic color stone and the celestial flight crystal. Huang Wenyu, on his part, could never have imagined that so much had happened in the 9 essences cultivation world during his absence, including numerous tribulations and disasters. Such occurrences were almost unimaginable in the astral origin cultivation world. According to Huang Wenyu, the astral origin cultivation world had not encountered any external threats for thousands of years. The cultivation world had developed in a relatively stable manner, except for the damaged ascension platform, which prevented soul formation cultivators from ascending properly. There had not been any significant trouble. Of course, what shocked Huang Wenyu the most was the current cultivation level of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. The couple had actually both broken through to soul formation. This let him finally understand why the two of them showed little interest in the Tao discussion conference. It's as if 2 PhDs entered a room full of elementary school students. The excitement and vigorous discussions about academic topics and precious items hardly mattered to them. After a long time, Huang Wenyu examined the patterns drawn by Jiang Chengxuan, which represented the mystic color stone and celestial flight crystal. He frowned deeply and after some thought shook his head, saying, "I've never seen or heard of the mystic color stone and celestial flight crystal in my many years with the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. However, I will pay close attention to these 2 items from now on. If there's any news, I'll inform you immediately. Thank you in advance." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had expected to hear this response from Huang Wenyu. Having Huang Wenyu as a source of information was still helpful in their search for the 2 items. By the way, at that moment, Huang Wenyu seemed to have thought of something. He said to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, "There's a large auction happening soon in Moonlight City. You must have heard about it, right?" "Yes, is there a problem?" Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. Huang Wenyu continued, "From what I've gathered, the scale of this auction is expected to be larger than usual. The forces in charge of hosting this auction have also increased from the original 2, the Changkang Holy Land and the Wuhan Holy Land. The other 2 are from the Su Holy Land in the state of Gumming and the Blue Ocean Holy Land in the state of Yu. Under such circumstances, we can go over and take a look. After all, the mystic color stone and the celestial flight crystal are both special materials. We can't easily find them anywhere else. What do you all think?" Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. "Although I don't think there will be anything truly valuable in an auction. But from what you said, it's more or less an opportunity. There's no harm in going over to take a look." A few months later, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Huang Wenyu arrived in Moonlight City. It was the only city in the state of Langkang co-managed by Changkang Holy Land and Wuhang Holy Land, making it one of the largest immortal cities in the state. The city, bathed in ethereal moonlight and wrapped in spiritual qi, was a sight to behold, even for experienced cultivators like Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Walking through the city, they couldn't help but admire its grand scale and bustling activity. This moonshine city could indeed be considered a super large-scale immortal city. The scale, the number of people, and the facilities were rare even in their 9 essences cultivation world. When their group walked into the auction venue held by Moonshine City this time, they noticed that the number of cultivators that came was simply to a terrifying extent. At a glance, there were no less than 100 nascent soul cultivators. As for those at the Golden Core, Violet Palace and Foundation establishment, there were even more of them. Moreover, as time passed, the number of people entering the auction venue continued to increase. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could even sense that there were several auras that surpassed the nascent soul in a few corners of the auction venue. While others might not detect them, as late-stage soul formation heavenly lords, they were acutely aware of these presences upon entering. After the 3 of them sat down in their respective seats, in a private room far away from them, a middle-aged man sitting at the head of the table frowned. He turned to look at an old man in white beside him and said, "Senior brother Yang, did you sense anything just now?" When the white-robed old man he called Senior Brother Yang heard this, he could not help but reveal a faint smile and shake his head. "I haven't sensed anything. But even if something was sensed, it's probably just the arrival of those other few individuals. We don't need to be overly concerned at this point." "That's true." The middle-aged man nodded in agreement. Similar scenes appeared in the other private rooms of the auction. Time passed bit by bit. A few days later, an extremely penetrating bell rang. The entire auction venue immediately closed. Simultaneously, a graceful and stunningly beautiful nascent soul female cultivator descended slowly from the sky. She was the host of the first session of this auction, a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator named Fairy Tianqing, hailing from the Changkang Holy Land. Yes, this auction, due to the participation of the Su Holy Land and the Blue Sea Holy Land, was divided into 4 separate sessions. Each session of the auction was to be hosted by nascent soul cultivators from the respective Holy Lands. The elegant Fairy Tianqing from Changkang Holy Land was in charge of this first session. With her charming eyes sweeping over the audience, she smiled and said, "Welcome to all the cultivators participating in the Moonlight City auction. I am Tianqing from the Changkang Holy Land, and I will be hosting this first session. Now, I officially declare the first session of this Moonlight City auction to begin." Whoosh! As Tianqing finished speaking, a dazzling beam of light descended from above the stage, illuminating the auction platform in front of her. As the light dissipated, a pond-sized jade bottle appeared. Fairy Tianqing cheerfully announced, "The first item for auction, provided by our Changkang Holy Land, is the Nascent Soul Formation Pill." Nascent Soul Formation Pill. Upon hearing this name, all the Golden Core cultivators in the audience perked up, visibly excited. They clearly hadn't expected the first auction item to be such a valuable treasure. For a time, many people could not help but reveal excited expressions. Fairy Tianqing continued with a smile. "The starting price of the Nascent Soul Formation Pill is 10,000 top-grade spirit stones. Every increase in price must be no less than 1,000 spiritual stones. 20,000 top-grade spirit stones. 50,000 top-grade spirit stones." Quickly, the bidding for the pill soared. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan glanced at it briefly, but soon lost interest, as well as in the subsequent items that were presented. Just like that, time slowly passed. It was not until the 3rd session, hosted by a nascent soul cultivator from the Su Holy Land, that something caught their attention. The cultivator brought out a basketball-sized, multicolored stone, and Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's expressions suddenly tensed up. They were both stunned, not expecting to actually find what they needed at this kind of auction. Mystic Color Stone. It was the Mystic Color Stone that they were looking for. Moreover, it was more than twice the size they needed. "Ladies and gentlemen, I will be hosting this 3rd session of the auction," announced the nascent soul cultivator from the Su Holy Land, as he lifted the Mystic Color Stone. This item was obtained by our Su family cultivator in a secret realm. It possesses immense dharmic power conductivity, making it an ideal material for crafting dharma treasures and even true treasures. The item doesn't have an official name yet, but I would like to call it the Refinement Stone. Those interested in crafting exceptional intrinsic dharma treasures, or true treasures, may consider bidding for this item. The starting bid is 10,000 top-grade spirit stones, with each increment no less than 1,000 top-grade spirit stones. As soon as the Su family cultivator finished speaking, various cultivators in the audience started bidding. 20,000 top-grade spirit stones, 30,000 top-grade spirit stones, 4 top-grade spirit stones. Clearly, although there was some interest in this previously unseen item, it wasn't overwhelming. When the bidding reached 70,000 top-grade spirit stones, the number of bidders dwindled. It was then that Jiang Chengxuan suddenly declared 100,000 top-grade spirit stones. Hearing his bid, those who were slowly increasing the price stopped. However, the Su family cultivator on the auction stage frowned slightly and said again, 100,000 top-grade spirit stones have been offered. Does anyone else want to bid higher? No one spoke. This brought a slight smile to Jiang Chengxuan's face. Just now, he was even prepared to spend a lot of money. However, from the looks of it, he had been overthinking. Come to think of it, it made sense. It was already very good that such an item that no one had seen before could be auctioned for such a price. It seemed like he had a 90% chance of obtaining the mystic color stone. However, what made Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan frown was that when the Su family cultivator on the auction stage saw that no one was willing to continue bidding, he shot a look at a cultivator below the stage not far away. The cultivator understood and immediately said, 120,000 top-grade spirit stones. I bid 120,000. Hearing that person's voice, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's faces immediately darkened. The Su family cultivator's subtle gesture might have gone unnoticed by others, even by late-stage nascent soul cultivators, but not by them, who were in the late stage of soul formation. The only thing they could not be sure of now was whether the other party was doing this to take the opportunity to earn more spirit stones, or if he had other motives. Or perhaps the mystic color stone was just a bait. Regardless of the motive, since the mystic color stone had been presented, it could not be retracted. Jiang Chengxuan decisively bid 150,000 top-grade spirit stones. The Su family cultivator on stage perked up at Jiang Chengxuan's bid of 150,000 top-grade spirit stones, immediately announcing, 150,000 top-grade spirit stones have been bid by the previous cultivator. Is there anyone who wishes to bid higher? 200,000 top-grade spirit stones. Soon, the hook-nosed man who had previously bid spoke up again, raising the price. This excited the Su family cultivator on the stage even more, and his gaze kept shifting towards Jiang Chengxuan and his group. Now, even Huang Wenyu next to them sensed something amiss. Taoist Jiang, something doesn't seem right. Yeah. Jiang Chengxuan nodded. There's indeed something wrong, but so what? Since they've already taken it out, I don't care what their intentions are. Don't even think about taking it back. As he spoke, a cold smile appeared on his face. Then he said again, I bid 1 million top-grade spirit stones. What? When Jiang Chengxuan said this, many people present could not help but reveal shocked expressions. 1 million top-grade spirit stones, what kind of concept was that? If this was converted into ordinary spirit stones, it would be a total of 100 million. Who would bid so lavishly? Initially, everyone thought that a bid of a few 100,000 was already extravagant, but no one expected someone to raise it to 1 million. Unexpectedly, someone raised the price to 1 million high-grade spirit stones. Even the Su family cultivator on stage was momentarily stunned, not anticipating such a high bid. If their own people continued to bid, it would become obvious to any discerning person that something abnormal was happening. However, before the auction, the family ancestor had strictly instructed that the refinement stone was specifically for testing purposes and must not be actually sold. Damn it! What to do now? For a moment, the Su family cultivator in charge of hosting the auction broke out in cold sweat. Back in the private booth, the white-robed old man looked at the situation below and could not help but sneer at the middle-aged man beside him. Junior brother Yao, after so many years, I didn't expect the Su family to still be the same as before. They haven't changed at all. They're still up to their old tricks, using unknown items to fish for bids and then resorting to underhanded tactics. They're the reason our holy lands have a tarnished reputation. With a dismissive tone, he added, forget it this time. Next time, our Changkung Holy Land must not collaborate with the Su family on this kind of occasion again. Hearing the white-robed elder's words, the middle-aged man referred to as junior brother Yao immediately nodded in agreement. Indeed, the Su family's behavior is too unsightly. As a dignified soul formation family, they still engage in these disgraceful acts, shaming all of us in the soul formation holy lands. As he spoke, a playful smirk appeared on junior brother Yao's face. This time, I'm really curious to see how that young Su family member will handle the situation. Meanwhile, the Su family cultivator on the auction stage, left with no choice, reluctantly turned his gaze towards the hook-nosed man. Torn between being suspected of collusion and disobeying his family ancestors' instructions, he chose the latter. The hook-nosed man quickly understood the Su family cultivator's silent message. As soon as he caught the Su family cultivator's glance, he turned his gaze towards Jiang Chengxuan's group, his face showing a cold sneer. He suddenly said, "I'm determined to get this item. I'll bid 1.1 million high-grade spirit stones." Although his words did not contain explicit threats, everyone present was no fool. They could clearly hear the underlying message. Whoever dares to compete with him for the refinement stone would face a relentless feud. Unfortunately for him, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan seemed to take his words as mere bluster. At this moment, not even the ancestor of the Su family Holy Land would be able to take back the mystic color stone they had put up for auction. Jiang Chengxuan, with an air of nonchalance, slowly raised 5 fingers towards the stage. 500 million top-grade spirit stones. Boom! The entire auction hall was now truly abuzz. Spending 5 billion spirit stones on an unknown refinement stone seemed incredibly wasteful. Even the white-robed elder and junior brother Yao in the private booth were taken aback. "Interesting," the white-robed elder said with a smile on his face. "I wonder which family he belongs to, but this time the Su family is really in trouble." Indeed. At this moment, the Su family cultivator could no longer maintain his composure. His expression was extremely ugly. However, on such an occasion, he had no choice but to try his best to suppress his emotions. He turned his head towards the hook-nosed man, his eyes clearly signaling him to continue bidding. The hook-nosed man felt a chill down his spine. What was going on with the guy who was bidding against him? At this point, couldn't he tell? He was really going to offend the Su family. 600 million top-grade spirit stones. Left with no choice, the hook-nosed man had to keep bidding against his will. 100 million top-grade spirit stones. However, what changed the expressions of both the hook-nosed man and the Su family cultivator was Jiang Chengxuan's continued calm bidding. It was as if what he was shouting now was not 10 million high-grade spirit stones that were comparable to 1 billion spirit stones, but only 1,000 ordinary spirit stones. This made the hook-nosed man hesitant to continue this dangerous game. Fortunately, at this moment, a voice transmission entered the ears of him and the Su family cultivators on the auction stage. It made their tense nerves instantly relax. In a luxurious private room, a young man full of arrogance suddenly smashed a jade cup in his hand. This person, Su Heilong, was the leader of the Su family's delegation and a peak nascent soul cultivator. In addition, he also had an identity that made all the Su family members envious. He was a direct descendant of the Su family's ancestor, though separated by many generations. His exceptional talent in cultivation had earned him the special attention and nurturing of the ancestor himself. When he was at foundation establishment, his ancestor valued him and brought him along to nurture him. Now, Su Heilong had become the leader of the new generation of the Su family. The transmission message to the hook-nosed man and the Su family cultivator came from Su Heilong. Now, with a cold and furious expression, he turned to an elder beside him and ordered sharply, "Find out the identities of those people. Unless they plan to stay in Moonlight City for the rest of their lives, I want them dead in the streets the moment they leave." "Yes." Hearing Su Heilong's order, the old man immediately bowed and accepted the order. Soon, his figure disappeared from the private room. Simultaneously, at the auction site, Jiang Chengxuan finally acquired the mystic color stone after no further bids were placed. Despite the Su family's notorious disregard for rules, they were not so bold as to blatantly break auction rules in front of so many witnesses, especially those from the other 3 holy lands. The other 3 holy lands would definitely not allow them to do that. Holding the mystic color stone, Jiang Chengxuan felt a sense of anticipation. Although he knew it was unlikely, the appearance of the mystic color stone gave him hope that the celestial flight crystal might also show up. After all, there is no harm in hoping. Shenruyan was visibly in a good mood as well. No matter what, the fact that they were able to obtain the mystic color stone already made this trip a worthwhile trip. At the very least, they had already obtained half of the materials needed to repair the ascension platform. It could be said to be a good start. On the other hand, Huang Wenyu, who was standing beside them, had a helpless and bitter smile on his face. This was because he knew very well that after this matter, with the Su family's usual style, they would definitely launch a full investigation on the three of them. While Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan might not be concerned, Huang Wenyu's status was almost certain to be compromised, meaning he would likely have to abandon his position as the vice leader of West Ocean Commerce Alliance and join the couple. Not that he would have any reluctance or complaints about it. In fact, being able to find the mystic color stone and help his hometown repair the ascension platform was something he was very willing and hoped to see. The reason why he had such complicated emotions was because in the past, the leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, Zheng Hengyu, had treated him well and valued him very much. If the others wanted to become the vice leader, they had to be at least at the 7th level of nascent soul. However, he, Huang Wenyu, was only at the 5th level of nascent soul and had taken on the position of the vice leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. It was obvious how much Zheng Hengyu valued him. As for whether his commerce alliance would be targeted by the Su family, this might be possible, but Huang Wenyu wasn't really worried. That was because the leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, Zheng Hengyu, was also a soul formation heavenly lord. Under such circumstances, even if the Su family wanted to target the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, they wouldn't go overboard. At most, they would ask the West Ocean Commerce Alliance to give them an explanation or hand over Huang Wenyu. However, at that time, Huang Wenyu would have already taken the initiative to leave the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. Even if the Su family wanted to do something about this, they would not have much of a chance. As if sensing Huang Wenyu's thoughts, Jiang Chengxuan didn't comfort him. Instead, he said in an apologetic tone, "I'm really sorry, Brother Huang. I've implicated you in this matter." Hearing this, Huang Wenyu sighed. He could not help but shake his head with a smile. "It's nothing. I'm just a passerby here. I just hope that you won't forget my help when we go back." Huang Wenyu's words, laced with a hint of jest, instantly drew laughter from Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. The auction continued. However, many people present could clearly sense that the Su family cultivator on the auction stage was not in a good state. Especially when compared with the other two auctioneers, the Su family cultivator's performance was even more disappointing. In such a manner, the auction segment that belonged to the Su family ended. However, not long after stepping down from the stage, the Su family cultivator seemed to have received a task and started walking towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. This unexpected move surprised some of the people, while others who were aware of the Su family's reputation and the situation at hand showed expressions of anticipation for the drama to unfold. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan slightly raised their eyebrows, already understanding the other party's intention. At that moment, they didn't wait for the other party to walk closer, nor did they have any intention of saving the other party any face. They directly said indifferently to the other party, "If you're here to take back that stone, I'm afraid that's not going to happen. Since the Su family chose to auction it off, you must be prepared for it to be sold." Or are you saying that the Su family can't stand to lose? Are you planning to use force or threats if you don't get your way? Jiang Chengxuan didn't lower his voice, so almost everyone present heard his words. This led to a variety of expressions in the crowd, with many people looking towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan with both surprise and intrigue. They really are fearless, some thought. To say such things openly in front of so many people, they're literally trampling the Su family's pride underfoot. Even the white-robed elder and junior brother Yao in a private room were momentarily taken aback upon hearing Jiang Chengxuan's bold words. They soon burst into laughter. Junior brother Yao said, "The Su family has truly lost face this time. I wonder how their old ancestor will react once he hears of this." The white-robed elder smiled and said, "Reaction. Needless to say, it must be that of anger. I'm now quite interested in the identities and backgrounds of these two people. Why don't we get someone to investigate their backgrounds?" While the two of them were talking, the Su family's auctioneer's face was already ashen. Indeed, he had received a message from Su Heilong, instructing him to retrieve the refinement stone from Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan by any means necessary, be it enticement or threats, before the auction's end. However, what the Su family's auctioneer did not expect was that Jiang Chengxuan would directly reveal his true intentions in front of so many people. Moreover, it was in such an unequivocal manner. Thinking of this, the Su family auctioneer couldn't hold back any longer. His eyes suddenly blazed with a bone-chilling murderous intent, and he coldly said to Jiang Chengxuan and the others, word by word, "How dare you slander our Su family? Do you really think we Su family won't dare to do anything to you in this auction?" Well, hearing the Su family auctioneer's words, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes finally narrowed. A dangerous aura was slowly being emitted from his body. As a heavenly lord, Jiang Chengxuan's tolerance had its limits. If a clown kept annoying him like a fly and kept buzzing in his ear, he wouldn't tolerate it. However, before Jiang Chengxuan could explode, a female auctioneer from the Blue Ocean, Holy Land on the auction stage in the distance, immediately said coldly, "Su Chuenping, if you continue to disrupt the order of the auction, don't blame me for having you thrown out." As she spoke, the female auctioneer from the Blue Ocean Holy Land emitted a powerful aura, characteristic of a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, firmly locking onto Su Chuenping not far from Jiang Chengxuan and his group. This made Su Chuenping's previously murderous expression instantly stiffen. Caught between a rock and a hard place, he awkwardly stood there, ultimately choosing to leave resentfully after giving Jiang Chengxuan and his companions a final cold glance. Simultaneously, the female auctioneer from the stage cast an apologetic look towards Jiang Chengxuan and his group, saying, "My fellow Taoists over there, I'm really sorry. I sincerely apologize for what just happened. As compensation, if you bid and win any item later, no matter the final price of the item, I will offer you a 50% discount." As soon as she finished speaking, many cultivators present could not help but reveal shocked expressions. They had never expected the Blue Ocean, Holy Land to do such a thing. This immediately formed a sharp contrast with the Su family's actions just now. For a time, many cultivators present had a good impression of the Blue Ocean Holy Land and the female auctioneer. Jiang Chengxuan, along with his group, respectfully nodded to the female auctioneer. However, the subsequent auction items failed to catch their interest. There was no trace of the celestial flight crystal. This situation continued until the end of the auction. Ignoring everyone's stares, Jiang Chengxuan and his group left the auction hall and headed towards the outskirts of Moonlight City. Since their enemies were already holding a grudge against them and sought to take back the mystic color stone from them, Jiang Chengxuan decided to give them an opportunity. After all, he was quite curious about how the Su family had obtained the mystic color stone in the first place. He could use this opportunity to ask them properly. Their departure from the auction hall did not go unnoticed and sparked much curiosity and speculation. People couldn't understand where Jiang Chengxuan and his group got such courage. They had just offended the Su family, and now they were choosing to leave Moonlight City. Did they have a death wish? Even the Su family did not expect Jiang Chengxuan and his team to leave Moonlight City at this time. They were even prepared to stay in Moonlight City for a long time. In the end, Su Chuenping asked Su Heilong, "Elder Heilong, those people actually chose to leave Moonlight City at this time. Should we?" He didn't say the rest, but whether it was Su Heilong or the others from the Su family, they clearly understood the meaning behind his words. Su Heilong's eyes were cold. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the void and landed on Jiang Chengxuan and the other two who were flying out of Moonlight City. Suddenly, he said leisurely, "Of course, since they are so eager to court death, why should we hesitate? Once they leave Moonlight City, we'll follow them. I want to see what they're up to. I also want to know who has given them such audacity to challenge my Su family." A moment later, Jiang Chengxuan and the other two had already completely left the range of Moonlight City. Not long after flying away, they clearly sensed several powerful auras rapidly pursuing them from behind. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and the others simply stopped and turned around. Seeing Jiang Chengxuan's group stop, Su Heilong and his men who were rapidly approaching were momentarily taken aback, sensing something amiss. However, since things had come to this, it was too late to stop now. So Su Heilong and his group further accelerated their pace. In no time, both parties were facing each other from a few hundred meters apart. For nascent soul cultivators, this distance was negligible. Su Heilong and the Su family cultivators around him prepared for battle, ready to confront Jiang Chengshuan's group. However, at this moment, Jiang Chengshuan spoke first. The Su family, right? Since you've come, it means that our previous encounter at the auction isn't settled yet. Let's be straightforward. I have one question for you. If you cooperate and answer, we can consider this matter resolved. Otherwise, I'm afraid all of you here today will have to learn a harsh lesson. Jiang Chengshuan's words left the Su family cultivators dumbfounded. What was happening? They were the ones who initiated the confrontation, but now it seemed like Jiang Chengshuan was the one actively seeking trouble. Moreover, the other party looked calm and confident. What was going on? Did they really believe that just the three of them could stand against all of them? Some of the cultivators who were watching from afar looked at each other in confusion. Jiang Chengshuan's words were just too bizarre. Was he confident or simply arrogant? Before the onlookers could ponder further, Su Heilong's expression suddenly turned cold. How arrogant? I don't know what you're talking about, but I do know that our Su family has lost a precious item. Just now, a cultivator from the Su family who is proficient in divination deduced that the thing that our Su family lost is on you. Now, let me ask you, are you going to hand that thing over to us obediently, or do you want us to personally take it back from you? Su Heilong's words caused the expressions of the distant onlookers to turn strange. Indeed, this was the true style of the Su family. Even without any justification, they would create a reason. Even if it meant making up lies or distorting facts, they always positioned themselves on the righteous side. Husband. Shen Ruyan suddenly turned to look at Jiang Chengshuan. Honestly, she was quite disgusted by the Su family's behavior. Facing such a person, no matter what you said, it would be useless. Jiang Chengshuan also didn't expect such a response from the Su family. He chuckled scornfully and nodded at Shen Ruyan. Since they're courting death, there's no need to be polite with them. Later on, we might as well ask their ancestor directly. That's better, Shen Ruyan replied with a smile. Shen Ruyan suddenly smiled and nodded. In the next moment, she stepped forward decisively. 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. With each step she took, her aura soared. The previously clear and cloudless sky began to churn with dark clouds, brewing a storm, after Shen Ruyan took 3 steps. Silver lightning streaked across the sky, gathering overhead like a harbinger of doom. An overwhelming sense of terror descended upon everyone present. Even those observing from afar were caught in this fearsome aura, their expressions turning into sheer panic. What's happening here? They wondered, faces pale with shock. At this moment, everyone could clearly feel the immense power emanating from Shen Ruyan in the sky. She seemed like a divine entity bringing about destruction, instilling an indescribable fear in their hearts. Soul formation, heavenly lord. Someone finally managed to utter these words. The situation had become clear to everyone there. If they hadn't guessed the identity of their adversary by now, they would be hopelessly stupid. Including the cultivators from the Su family, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Su Heilong's face in particular turned ghostly pale. No one there knew better than him how terrifying a soul formation Heavenly Lord could be. At this point he truly wished he could claim that it was all a misunderstanding, but he dared not. The unfolding events made it clear what had really happened. Pretending ignorance in front of a soul formation, Heavenly Lord would be akin to courting death. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous explosion echoed from the stormy clouds, instantly causing Su Heilong and the other Su family cultivators to flush red. They staggered, spewing mouthfuls of fresh blood, and all this was merely the result of Shen Ruyan's mere presence. She hadn't even made a move yet, but she had already severely injured all the Su family cultivators. Fellow Taoists, show mercy. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly flew over from the distant sky. Before he arrived, a terrifying aura that was like a mountain and a sea had already swarmed over. It was clearly another soul formation, Heavenly Lord. Great-grandfather. Su Heilong, who was originally pale and heavily injured, immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression when he saw the figure rushing over from afar. The figure was none other than Su Kunming, the ancestor of the Su family. However, Shen Ruyan paid no heed to Su Kunming's arrival. The oppressive force she exerted on Su Heilong and the others remained undiminished. On the contrary, with the appearance of Su Kunming, the violent might of the lightning involuntarily became even more frightening. Arg! Su Heilong and the others once again spewed out blood violently. The approaching Su Kunming's expression darkened as he angrily rebuked, "Fellow Taoist, isn't it too much to vent your anger on these juniors?" "Too much." Shen Ruyan remained unaffected by his words. With a cold smirk she retorted, "Are you the Su family's ancestor? Why don't you mention how your juniors offended me earlier? Instead, you choose to focus on me bullying the young. Fine then, I'll have a proper discussion with you, the Su family's ancestor." As she finished speaking, Shen Ruyan suddenly extended 2 fingers, forming a sword-like gesture, and lightly slashed towards the incoming Su Kunming. Shriek! Instantly, a horrifying sword light, wrapped in endless thunder, shot out from Shen Ruyan's fingers. The terrifying power directly ripped apart the space in front of her, creating dark spatial rifts. Seeing this, all the cultivators who were watching from afar could not help but be shocked. Soul Formation Heavenly Lord was indeed a Soul Formation Heavenly Lord. A casual attack actually carried the power to tear space apart. Senior Brother Yang. On the other side, Junior Brother Yao looked at the scene in front of him and could not help but have a solemn expression. He turned to look at the white-robed old man beside him. The white-robed old man was no longer as relaxed as he was in the auction room. At this moment, his expression was almost the same as Junior Brother Yao's. His face was filled with seriousness. It seems old Su has really hit a wall this time. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Su Kunming took out a huge furnace. The entire furnace was dark gold in color. As the light circulated, it immediately gave people the illusion that it was invulnerable to fire and water, and that swords and spears could not manage it. However, to everyone's surprise, when Shen Ruyan's thunderous sword light collided with the dark gold furnace, the furnace vibrated violently. In the next moment, its glowing light abruptly extinguished. There was a rumble. With a thunderous sound, the entire dark gold furnace was sent flying thousands of miles away by Shen Ruyan's sword light, eventually crashing into a giant peak, turning it into a cloud of dust and debris. Su Kunming himself was also shaken by the collision. His forward charge turned into an uncontrollable retreat, and his complexion alternated between shades of green, red, and white. Eventually, he couldn't hold back and spewed out a mouthful of fresh blood. All it took was one strike, just one. The blow, delivered by a casual hand, had severely wounded Su Kunming, who was also a Soul Formation Heavenly Lord. This raised the question, how terrifying must her true strength be? Many spectators widened their eyes and dropped their jaws in disbelief. Junior Brother Yao and the white-robed old man could not help but look at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. One had to know that Su Kunming, who had been severely injured by Shen Ruyan, was on par with them. Since the other party could injure him in one strike, didn't that mean that if the other party faced them, she could also injure them in one strike? This realization shifted their mood from one of amusement to a grave sense of emergency. However, compared to Junior Brother Yao and the old man in white, Su Heilong, Su Chuenping, and the other Su family cultivators felt as if they had fallen into an abyss. They had not expected their ancestor to be defeated so quickly by Shen Ruyan. Although neither had used their full strength in the brief exchange, it was clear that Shen Ruyan's power surpassed that of the Su family's ancestor. Now, the Su family members wondered how they could continue this confrontation. Shen Ruyan, however, was indifferent to their concerns. Facing Su Kunming, whose expression had turned quite ugly, she spoke calmly, "Su family's ancestor, let's hear it. How do you plan to resolve this matter?" Hearing Shen Ruyan's words, Su Kunming's face darkened again. He was furious, but on the surface, he looked at Shen Ruyan and said in a deep voice, "What do you want?" Shen Ruyan didn't mince words. "Tell me how you acquired that refinement stone. And a friendly warning, don't try any tricks or all your Su family descendants here will be annihilated." As she spoke, the thunderbolts in the sky gathered around Su Heilong and the others, poised to strike. The terrifying aura made it clear that Shen Ruyan could, at any moment, fulfill her threat of obliterating them all. This was a scenario none of the Su family members, who had come to Moonlight City, could have anticipated. Su Kunming was also taken aback. surprised that Shen Ruyan was also after the refinement stone. Su Kunming, the ancestor of the Su family, realized that what started as a scheme to lure out people who knew about the refinement stone had backfired. They had indeed achieved their goal and caught a fish, but not a small fish, rather, a formidable shark. At that instant, Su Kunming pondered over how much the other party knew about the refinement stone and whether he could glean any relevant information from them. Shen Ruyan, noticing Su Kunming's hesitance and lack of response, coldly snorted. In the next moment, the body of a Su family cultivator closest to her suddenly exploded with endless lightning. Crackle! In just an instant, the Su family cultivator did not even have time to scream before his body and soul were annihilated. At this moment, everyone who saw this scene could not help but be shocked. Shen Ruyan really meant what she said. Her threat was not a bluff. If things went wrong, the Su family members present could very well meet the same fate. Su Kunming didn't expect that Shen Ruyan would actually dare to kill his family member while he was present. This made him furious. He looked at Shen Ruyan and the other two coldly. Fellow Taoist, what do you mean by that? You killed a Su family cultivator. Do you really think that I, Su Kunming, am easy to bully? Do you think that my Su family is easy to bully? Huh? Hearing these words, Shen Ruyan's eyes grew colder. Boom! The sky rumbled with thunder again, and this time, 3 Su family cultivators were instantly turned to ash. She said, "You have to understand one thing. I'm the one asking you a question now, not you negotiating with me. Do you understand? I've already given you a way out. You were the one who didn't grasp it and insisted on having thoughts that you shouldn't have. Who can you blame?" The escalating situation held everyone's breath. The conflict was heading towards a dangerous climax. Senior brother Yang, should we? On the other side, junior brother Yao looked at the white-robed old man and asked with a solemn expression. However, the white-robed old man shook his head and asked, "Junior brother Yao, who do you think is stronger between us and old Su?" When junior brother Yao heard that, he subconsciously replied, "Of course you're stronger. As for me, I should be on par with him." Hearing this, the old man in white laughed. "Junior brother Yao, you think too highly of me. Indeed, my strength might be a little stronger than old Su. However, it's only marginal. The difference in strength is not as big as you think. But look at that fellow Taoist, how strong is she?" This time, the white-robed old man did not wait for junior brother Yao's reply and answered his own question. "The difference is worlds apart, not to mention that she hasn't yet shown all her strength. However, from the battle between the two of them just now, it's clear that she can kill old Su with a raise of her hand. What do you think we can do, even if we do show ourselves in this situation? Do you think that at this point, she will show mercy for our Changkang Holy Land's sake? Moreover, she has already given old Su a way out. He was the one who couldn't grasp it, so who can he blame?" Junior brother Yao fell silent at the elder's words. Meanwhile, Su Kunming's face had turned livid. He hadn't expected things to escalate to such an extent. Killing 4 members of his family in front of so many witnesses left him no room to retreat. But if he didn't retreat, Su Kunming couldn't help but look at Su Heilong and the others, whose faces were pale. He recalled the strength Shen Ruyan had just displayed. Just as Su Kunming was going to plead, a more terrifying thunderstorm suddenly erupted over Su Heilong and the others. Rumble! In an instant, Su Chuemping, Su Heilong, and others were turned to dust, shocking Su Kunming and everyone else witnessing the scene. The expressions of junior brother Yao and the old man in white also changed drastically. Not good. Something big was about to happen. The thought had just crossed their minds when Shen Ruyan spoke up. "All right, there's no need for you to say anything else. I'll get that information from your corpse." As soon as he finished speaking, a sword light that flickered with endless lightning suddenly slashed down at Su Kunming. "You!" A look of disbelief appeared on Su Kunming's face. "How dare she, how dare she?" Boom! In that instant, endless spiritual light erupted from Su Kunming's body. Every inch of his skin, every strand of his hair shone with a bright glow. It was obvious that he had burned himself completely, hoping to escape and survive. Spiritual chi from the surrounding area crazily converged towards him, signifying he was elevating himself to his utmost potential for a slim chance of survival. He knew that only by completely burning his body would he have a chance of surviving today. At this moment, he was filled with regret. If he had known this would happen, he would not have come, nor would he attempt to save his descendants. After the West Ocean Commerce Alliance 2. Editor Henny Translations. Now the situation had spiraled out of control. Shen Ruyan was no longer interested in playing games. Even if it meant making enemies with the Su family, she was determined to utterly defeat Su Kunming. Boom! Suddenly, a battle axe flew out of Su Kunming's mouth. It grew larger in the wind, quickly becoming thousands of feet in size. It collided fiercely with Shen Ruyan's 5 lightning immortal slayer. Swoosh! However, the expected violent collision did not occur. In the moment Shen Ruyan's 5 lightning immortal slayer clashed with Su Kunming's battle axe, its razor-sharp sword light sliced through the axe's mystical aura as easily as a knife through butter. With a clang, the axe fell. Su Kunming was shaken to his core. A mouthful of blood spewed out as fear filled his eyes. He shouted, "Mercy Fairy, I!" Shriek! Before he could finish his plea, Shen Ruyan's sword swept across his body. A bloodline quickly appeared on Su Kunming's forehead. He stood motionless, and after a short moment his body split into 2 charred halves and fell from the sky. A spiritual chi tsunami suddenly surged in the sky. However, the entire scene was deathly silent. Everyone stood in awe. Their minds were buzzing. A soul formation heavenly lord had died just like that. Junior brother Yao and the old man in white could not help but gasp. They knew Su Kunming couldn't match Shen Ruyan, but they hadn't expected the gap to be so vast. Just one exchange of Dharma treasures, and Su Kunming was defeated. Where did these two come from? They had never been seen before in the astral origin cultivation world. It was only at this moment that junior brother Yao and the white-robed old man noticed this problem. They couldn't help but look at each other. Whoosh! However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had no intention of staying any longer. Shen Ruyan put away Su Kunming's storage ring and left with Jiang Chengxuan and Huang Wenyu. Splash! Not long after the 3 of them left, the originally silent place suddenly became lively. The onlookers were in a frenzy, discussing what had just unfolded. Meanwhile, messages spread rapidly throughout the astral origin cultivation world, causing a stir. The death of a soul formation heavenly lord was enough to shock the entire astral origin cultivation world, especially since this was the first time in thousands of years that a soul formation cultivator had died in the hands of other soul formation cultivators. This kind of news was even more shocking. The Su family. Su Kunshan, one of the 2 soul formation ancestors of the Su family, looked at the message in his communication Jade talisman with a face ashen with shock. He could never have imagined that his cousin, also a soul formation ancestor of the Su family, Su Kunming, would fall, especially at the hands of someone whose name they didn't even know. Haitian, if I remember correctly, one of those 3 people is the vice leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, right? Su Kunshan asked a middle-aged man standing below him. The man, the current head of the Su family and a cultivator with the 7th level of nascent soul, respectfully nodded. Yes, according to our investigation, one of those 3 is indeed the vice leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, named Huang Wenyu. Huang Wenyu, huh? Su Kunshan's face darkened. Send a message to the West Ocean Commerce Alliance in my name, telling them they need to give the Su family an explanation for this incident, or else they can forget about passing through Su family territory in the future. Forget it, I'll personally make a trip to the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. With that, Su Kunshan's figure had already disappeared from the Su family. West Ocean Commerce Alliance. Zheng Hengyu, the current leader of the alliance, was entertaining several soul formation cultivators, including junior brother Yao and the white-robed elder. They had come to inquire about the incident involving the 3 individuals, one of whom was Huang Wenyu, a member of their alliance. During this period, Huang Wenyu had already announced to the outside world that he had officially left the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. However, to everyone's surprise, Zheng Hengyu, the alliance leader, rejected Huang Wenyu-1's proposal. Moreover, he claimed that he would always save the position of the vice leader for Huang Wenyu. As such, the West Ocean Commerce Alliance naturally became the center of attention. At that moment, Zheng Hengyu was talking to the white-clothed old man and the others. Just at that moment, an extremely ferocious aura suddenly came from the distant sky. Accompanying this was a loud shout filled with anger. Zheng Hengyu, hand over Huang Wenyu. Otherwise, your West Ocean Commerce Alliance can forget about passing through my Sioux family's territory in the future. The newcomer was Su Kunshin from the Sioux family, who had not bothered to conceal his aura. His words were heard by everyone in the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, sparking anger among many cultivators. However, given Su Kunshin's status as a soul formation heavenly lord, no one dared to openly retort him. They believed that their alliance leader, Zheng Hengyu, would definitely not remain silent in the face of such a threat. In fact, Zheng Hengyu didn't disappoint them. He first apologized to the white-robed old man and the others. Then he quickly dashed outside, and, upon seeing the fiercely approaching Su Kunshin, immediately furrowed his brows and said, "Su Kunshin, running wild in my West Ocean Commerce Alliance, are you out of your mind? If you are so capable, why don't you go after the person who killed your cousin instead of picking a fight with me? Do you think the West Ocean Commerce Alliance and I, Zheng Hengyu, are particularly easy to bully?" As he spoke, Zheng Hengyu's own formidable aura surged up, clashing with the aura emanating from Su Kunshin. Boom, boom, boom. Huge rumbles echoed in the sky, drawing shocked gazes from the surrounding passers-by cultivators. That is Su Kunshin, the ancestor of the Sioux family, and Zheng Hengyu, the leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. Soon, the identities of the two were recognized. Given the recent event of Su Kunming's death, some quickly connected the dots, and their faces changed dramatically, wondering if a major battle was about to ensue between Su Kunshin and Zheng Hengyu. If so, that would really be. Su Kunshin hadn't expected such a tough stance from Zheng Hengyu right from the start. This caused his expression to darken. Ignoring Zheng Hengyu's words, Su Kunshin stared intently at him and said each word deliberately. "Zheng Hengyu, are you going to hand over Huang Wenyu or not? Or does your West Ocean Commerce Alliance really want to be at endless war with my Sioux family?" Puff. Zheng Hengyu's face revealed a scornful sneer. "An endless war? Su Kunshin, you really overestimate yourself, just you, your Sioux family. Let me see what you, Su Kunshin, are capable of to dare threaten me with an endless war." As soon as he finished speaking, Zheng Hengyu suddenly formed a seal with both hands. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Instantly, the void trembled. Immediately after, whistling scarlet tornadoes suddenly appeared around him. Moreover, each was accompanied by streaks of gold and silver lightning, exuding a terrifying might. Rumble. The sound was like thunder rolling through the air. The crimson tornadoes quickly merged into one, growing to 1,000 feet, then 3,000, and finally 5,000 feet, sweeping towards Su Kunshin with an unparalleled destructive force. "You!" Seeing this, Su Kunshin's pupils instantly constricted. Obviously, he'd never imagined that Zheng Hengyu would actually make a move so decisively. Moreover, his opening move was his famed technique, the firestorm. Not daring to be careless, a divine saber Dharma form appeared behind Su Kunshin. A giant wielding a heavenly saber faced the sweeping crimson tornado and struck it fiercely. Boom! A massive, nuclear explosion like halo instantly rose between heaven and earth, spreading across tens of thousands of miles. Everything in the surroundings that was affected by it instantly turned into nothingness. In the center of it, there was a twisted black hole that was rapidly shrinking. It was the space that had been shattered by their attacks. Thump, thump, thump. At this moment, Su Kunshin in midair was forced to retreat repeatedly. Even the heavenly saber Dharma form behind him became blurry. In contrast, Zheng Hengyu seemed much more composed. Aside from some disheveled clothing, he appeared largely unaffected. This disparity made Su Kunshin's face turn ugly. Zheng Hengyu's strength was clearly a notch above his own. Even the white-robed elder and others who had come to watch were slightly surprised. They hadn't expected Zheng Hengyu's strength to have increased so much over the years. Just as they exchanged glances, contemplating stepping in to mediate, unexpectedly at this moment, an extremely vast and boundless light suddenly rose from a place extremely far away from them. The light covered the sky for millions of miles. Almost most of the cultivators saw such a spectacular phenomenon. It was impossible for Zheng Hengyu, Su Kunshin, the white-robed elder, and others of their caliber not to notice such a spectacle. Their expressions turned extremely grave at this moment. Zheng Hengyu and the white-robed old man seemed to have recognized the reason for this phenomenon. Their expressions were solemn, and they could not help but be a little excited. Heavenly Lord Fusheng from Wuhan Holy Land looked at the two of them and asked, "Fellow Taoists, do you know what that is?" Hearing his words, Su Kunshan, junior brother Yao and the others all turned their gazes toward them. After exchanging a glance, it was the white-robed elder who spoke up. "If I'm not mistaken, what has appeared now should be the legendary Mystic Knight's secret realm." Mystic Knight's secret realm. Hearing this name, the expressions of several people were visibly surprised. Evidently, they had never heard of such a secret realm before. Zheng Hengyu then explained, "Mystic Knight's secret realm is an independent realm created by the Xianxia Holy Land 2,000 years ago." The mention of the Xianxia Holy Land instantly made everyone's expression tense. Clearly, they were all familiar with the name of this holy land from 2,000 years ago. Heavenly Lord Fusheng seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "Xianxia Holy Land, are you saying the Mystic Knight's secret realm you mentioned was created by the first master of the Xianxia Holy Land?" These words immediately caused the expressions of everyone present to change. They too had thought of the same person, the founder of the Xianxia Holy Land, Huang Xuanji, also known as Divine Lord Huang. Yes. Back then, his cultivation had already reached void returning. However, the rules of heaven and earth were different at that time. Even if one ascended to void returning, they could still stay in the lower realm for a considerable time, unlike now where anyone above soul formation could not stay in the worlds of the lower realm. Once they appeared in the lower realm, they would immediately be rejected by the world until they were expelled. If what they were witnessing was indeed a realm created by Huang Xuanji, then, unconsciously, the few of them looked at each other. They saw the uncontrollable excitement in each other's eyes. Opportunity, a tremendous opportunity. At this moment, whether it was Zheng Hengyu, Su Kunshan, or the white-robed elder and others, they all had one thought in mind. They must enter the secret realm. No matter what, they could not miss this opportunity. Boom! Instantly, several figures transformed into majestic and vast streams of light, rushing towards the source of the luminous phenomenon. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who had just finished checking Su Kunming's storage ring, also turned their attention to the direction where the light was emerging. They recognized almost immediately that this was undoubtedly the phenomenon of a secret realm opening. The two of them looked at each other. Then, they realized that there was a jade pendant on Huang Wenyu's body that was emitting a faint yellow light. "Brother Huang, what is this?" Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan both seemed to have guessed something, their faces showing surprise. Huang Wenyu didn't intend to keep it a secret and replied, "To be honest, this jade pendant is what led me into that mysterious secret realm years ago, and then brought me to the astral origin cultivation world. Although I don't know why it's reacting like this now, it must be related to the secret realm that has just appeared. So let's go and see what it is all about," said Jiang Chengxuan with a smile. "Perhaps this journey into the secret realm might help us achieve our goal." As they spoke, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Huang Wenyu headed towards the source of the light. At this moment there were countless people like Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Zheng Hengyu. Clearly, everyone had realized that there was definitely an extraordinary opportunity in that place. Perhaps they might be able to obtain unexpected gains from it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Streaks of light shot across the sky as numerous people hurried towards that direction. Initially, everyone was excited and thrilled, eagerly heading to that place. However, as time passed, some people gradually realized that no matter how they moved in that direction, the distance between them and that place did not decrease at all. There were even many nascent soul cultivators among them. No matter how they advanced, they could not get any closer. In an instant, many people understood. It seemed that not everyone could enter the secret realm that had appeared. In its own way, it was screening the people who were allowed to enter. After some time had passed, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Huang Wenyu also noticed this. However, unlike those who tried but failed to get closer to the secret realm, they didn't need much time to fly towards it. Soon, the entrance to the secret realm was in sight, and surprisingly, no one else was there except for them. Could it be? At that moment, all three thought of the same question. Were they the first ones to arrive at the entrance of this secret realm? Buzz. Just as this thought crossed their minds, they saw a pathway suddenly open at the entrance of the secret realm. They exchanged glances, and, without any hesitation, all rushed into the entrance of the pathway. Whoosh! It felt like passing through a membrane. Suddenly, the scenery around them started shaking violently. When Jiang Chengxuan looked again, he found himself sitting in an office. The familiar computer, PowerPoint, a cup of coffee, familiar colleagues, the familiar sound of typing on keyboards. All in all kinds of familiar feelings suddenly overwhelmed him. It was as if he had woken up from a grand dream, leaving Jiang Chengxuan momentarily disoriented and bewildered. Jiang, you're awake. You must not have rested well last night. Look at you, those dark circles under your eyes are so heavy. A familiar female voice reached his ears. It was a woman in her 30s, with a mature and intellectual aura. She was awaken, his mentor at the company. Yeah, I probably didn't rest well last night. Thanks, Sister Qin, for covering for me, Jiang Chengxuan said, scratching his head awkwardly just like when he first met awaken. Yo, why are you being so polite with me? awaken replied, pretending to be a bit annoyed but with a hint of affection in her tone. If you didn't rest well, make sure to take a good rest at noon. You're young, but don't take your health for granted. Yeah, I understand, Sister Qin, Jiang Chengxuan nodded. During lunchtime, Jiang Chengxuan, as usual, went to the company cafeteria to eat. However, he suddenly received a message on his phone. It read, I saw a really nice bag on a live stream today and they're having a promotion. It's only $18.88. Can you buy it for me as a gift? Soon after, another message with a link to purchase the bag arrived. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He typed a response. Can this wait until I get paid next month? I had some big medical expenses for my mom this month. Then he cautiously added another sentence. How about we choose a cheaper one for now? Next month when I get my salary, I'll buy you that one. How does that sound? After sending this message, there was a noticeable silence from the other end. This made Jiang Chengxuan feel inexplicably nervous. He really didn't know how the person on the other end would react to his words. Thankfully, the wait wasn't too long. Suddenly, another link was sent from the other side, accompanied by a message. If it's next month, then I want this one. Jiang Chengxuan clicked the link to see, and his breath immediately hitched. He didn't even bother to see what the item was, but just stared at the price. $59.99. His monthly salary was barely over $6,000, and now she wanted to buy something for $59.99. Jiang Chengxuan clenched his lips tightly, then took a deep, forceful breath. More messages kept coming from the other side. Anyway, I don't care. If you're going to buy it for me next month, it has to be this one. Otherwise, don't bother, and you must buy me that other one this month. You choose. Hey, Jiang Chengxuan, are you even reading my messages? Why aren't you replying? I remember you still have some credit left in your account, right? Why don't you use that money to buy me the cheaper one for now? After all, I don't want you to spend more money either. Hey, why are you still not talking? If you don't say anything, I'm really going to get angry. Angry emoji. As he read through the barrage of messages, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt a deep sense of exhaustion from the bottom of his heart. He rubbed his forehead forcefully with his hand. After hesitating for a long time, he finally clicked on the profile picture in the chat, then found the option to delete the friend. After hesitating for a while, he eventually sighed, smiled bitterly, and clicked delete and confirm. Phew. It felt as if a huge weight had been lifted from his heart. He continued working in the afternoon. However, just before finishing work, the department manager informed everyone that they needed to work overtime for a bit. And this bit turned out to be 3 whole hours. By the time Jiang Chengxuan dragged his tired body back to his rented apartment in the city, it was nearly 10 o'clock at night. After taking a shower and lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, he found himself lost in thought again. How did his life, seemingly well on track, loop back to the starting point? Working class, 996 work culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, 7 work culture, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, blind dates, housing loans, car loans, medical expenses. Is his future still going to be like this? Like a cycle, repeating endlessly just like in his previous life. If only the dream he had before was real. Well, at this thought, Jiang Chengxuan, who was initially in a daze with a hint of confusion in his eyes, suddenly had a slight contraction of his pupils. A dream was everything he experienced before really just a dream. He suddenly sat up from the bed and began trying to sense the spiritual qi in this world, based on his memories. However, there was none. Despite trying for a long time, he didn't feel anything. But at this moment, his heart no longer believed that what he had experienced before was merely a grand dream. He began to earnestly recall every detail of his previous experiences. Gradually, his aura began to change. Although he was still just an ordinary person without a trace of dharmic power, as his conviction in his past experiences grew stronger, a faint and elusive spiritual insight, seemingly hidden yet apparent, began to be gradually captured by him. Indeed, the real dream was not what he had experienced before, but rather his current reality. After realizing this, Jiang Chengxuan underwent a complete transformation, both inside and out. Anyone who had contact with him in the following days could clearly sense that he was different from before, although they couldn't pinpoint exactly what had changed. On this day, Jiang Chengxuan went to work as usual, but the moment he stepped into the company building, he found himself in a simple hut instead. A cute little girl with two horn braids on her head looked at him with surprise and joy. "Brother, you're back." As she spoke, she jumped off the stool she was sitting on and threw herself into Jiang Chengxuan's arms. "Brother, why were you gone for so long this time? Dad and Mom, we all missed you so much." At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes became somewhat hazy, as if his memories were being pulled back to that evening when the little girl, crying and shouting, said she would wait for him to return and continue telling her the unfinished story. However, Jiang Chengxuan knew clearly this time that all of it was no longer attainable. The past had passed, and even if there were regrets, he wouldn't stay forever in bygone days. After all, who in this world has a perfect path or life? Perhaps when he becomes an immortal or transcends one day, he might have the power to make up for past regrets, but not now. So in the next moment, Jiang Chengxuan, smiling, lifted the little girl and looked into her eyes, saying earnestly, "Ting Ting, brother knows you miss me and want to hear stories, and you don't want me to leave again. But I want to tell you that I still have very, very important things to do. Only when those things are done can I have the ability to stay with you, Dad and Mom. At that time, if you still want to listen to stories, I promise that I will tell you a lot. At that time, I will never be separated from you again. Our family will be together forever." "Really?" An extremely expectant expression suddenly appeared on the little girl's face as she looked at Jiang Chengxuan with her big sparkling eyes. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded. "Of course. Then let's make a pinky promise, okay?" The little girl stretched out her tiny finger, full of expectation. Jiang Chengxuan also extended his finger, hooking it with the girl's. She cheerfully said, "Pinky swear, whoever lies will be made to swallow 1,000 needles. No lying." As the girl spoke these words, her figure in Jiang Chengxuan's arms gradually began to fade, turning into specks of light that drifted away. Jiang Chengxuan watched silently. Though he was smiling, tears had already filled his eyes. Eventually, as the little girl completely disappeared into light, her voice seemed to still linger in his ears. "Brother, we have a deal then. You'll always stay with Ting Ting, Dad and Mom at that time, okay? Whoever lies will be made to swallow 1,000 needles. No lying. Buzz." At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt an intense vibration around him. The entire space was shaking and breaking apart. When he looked again, he was shocked to discover that he was already in an ancient hall. His cultivation was fully restored. Looking around, he saw that the hall was not very large, but there were dozens of cultivators sitting in meditation around him, including those at the golden core, nascent soul, and even the soul formation. However, he did not see Shen Ruyan and Huang Wenyu among them. Perhaps they were sent to different locations. Just as this thought crossed his mind, Jiang Chengxuan was surprised to see several people in front of him suddenly turn into light shadows and disappear from the hall. What's going on here? Where did those people go? Before he could ponder further, information from an unknown source flooded into his mind, explaining everything that was happening and had just happened. As it turned out, he, along with the others here, were undergoing a trial in this secret realm. Those who had just vanished had failed the test and were expelled from the realm. His ability to remain indicated he had passed the test by not losing himself in his inner world. Crack! A token suddenly fell from the front of the hall. Jiang Chengxuan picked it up, and instantly information flowed from the token. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan immediately arrived in front of the only door in the hall. As he inserted the token in his hand, into one of the slots of the door in front of him. The door immediately opened. Yang Chengxuan took this opportunity to step in. Buzz! The scene before him changed instantly, and Jiang Chengxuan found himself in a space filled with countless treasures. Moreover, the grade of each treasure was above level 5. There were also many treasures that were level 6. Jiang Chengxuan admitted that ever since he broke through to soul formation, he had never seen so many level 6 treasures. However, he knew that not all of these treasures were real. His next task was to identify the genuine treasures from the fake ones, and he only had 3 chances to do so. Once the 3 chances were used up, and he was still unable to find the real treasure among these treasures, it would mean that he had failed the second test. At that time, he would be teleported out by the secret realm like the others. Fortunately, this test was not too difficult for Jiang Chengxuan. After spending several days and using 2 of his chances, he successfully identified all the real treasures. There were a total of 5 real ones. There were 3 level 5 treasures and 2 level 6 treasures. The other treasures all turned into light spots and dissipated. Those 5 treasures also became Jiang Chengxuan's rewards in this round. Buzz! At the same time, an array suddenly lit up under Jiang Chengxuan's feet. The light of the array quickly enveloped Jiang Chengxuan's body, and then his vision blurred. When he looked again, he realized that he had already arrived at a battlefield. He was alone, and opposite him were densely packed enemies. Among them, there were 7 to 8 cultivators who had reached soul formation. And this was his third and final test. It was to kill the enemy. To pass this trial, he needed to survive 5 consecutive battle scenes. Passing 4 would be considered excellent, 3 good, 2 satisfactory, and failing to pass even 1 scene meant failure in the trial. Jiang Chengxuan had not expected this final trial to involve battle. He looked into the distance and saw a dense group of people charging towards him. Among those people, there were cultivators, demons, and demonic cultivators. Every spell, divine power, and dharma treasure they unleashed all felt real. Jiang Chengxuan did not intend to use his own body to test if those attacks would cause him real damage. He planned to complete 5 consecutive victories with his own strength. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions of incredible power, enough to annihilate a small star, erupted across the sky. Jiang Chengxuan fought through the first, second, and third battle scenes. By the 4th scene, he realized that each soul formation cultivator he faced had reached the late stage. Furthermore, there were 5 of them. Despite the apparent decrease in the number of enemies, Jiang Chengxuan knew that the combined strength of these 5 late-stage soul formation cultivators was far greater than all the previous opponents combined. Boom! However, with Jiang Chengxuan's own power, achieving an overwhelming victory at this level was still within his capabilities. After some time, Jiang Chengxuan also successfully passed the 4th battle scene, ready to face the final challenge of the 3rd trial. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At that moment, 3 extremely terrifying presences suddenly erupted in front of Jiang Chengxuan. 3 incomparably terrifying figures slowly walked out of the void. A human cultivator, a demon, and a demonic cultivator, all of whom had reached the peak of soul formation. Facing such formidable opponents, even Jiang Chengxuan couldn't afford to be careless. His eyes instantly turned silvery white as he entered the state of Shenbian, meaning a godlike ability to adapt and respond. At the same time, behind him, 5-colored aureola of green, red, yellow, white, and blue swept towards the 3 enemies. Boom! An intense battle erupted instantly. Everyone knew that the higher a cultivator's cultivation level was, the greater the gap between them, especially at the soul formation realm, as well as the late-stage soul formation realm. To say that each level is a separate heaven, that's truly not an overstatement at all. It wasn't too difficult for an ordinary peak soul formation cultivator to crush a soul formation cultivator at the 7th. Moreover, there were 3 of them at once. Even for Jiang Chengxuan, it was not easy to kill 3 peak soul formation cultivators in a short period of time. However, being hard didn't mean he couldn't do it. As time passed, the demonic cultivator was first to be killed by Jiang Chengxuan. Next was the human heavenly lord at the peak of soul formation. Finally, Jiang Chengxuan fused all his dharmic powers and physical strength into the deep earth halberd. There was a loud bang. The void in front of him suddenly shattered. At the same time, the white tiger demon sovereign with wings on its back let out a miserable cry. Immediately after, the huge deep earth halberd pierced through its head and came out from behind it. The ferocious and vigorous power instantly disintegrated the demon sovereign into a mist of blood, annihilating both body and spirit. Buzz. At the same time, images of treasures appeared before Jiang Chengxuan, along with information flooding into his mind, indicating that he could select 3 items from these treasures. With just a glance, Jiang Chengxuan focused on his primary goal for venturing into the astral origin cultivation world, the celestial flight crystal. Buzz. A light flashed, and a head-sized celestial flight crystal materialized in his hand. Such a large piece, if used to repair the ascension platform, Jiang Chengxuan estimated that less than half of it would be needed. With both the mystic color stone and the celestial flight crystal in hand, Jiang Chengxuan felt a mix of relief and elation. Then he continued to browse the treasure catalog before him. The everlasting pill caught his eye next, a pill that could sustain endless dharmic power for half a day. The level 6 spirit root, the fire spirit divine tea. This tea aids cultivators practicing fire attribute techniques in improving their cultivation level. It can be taken daily without developing resistance. The only downside is its low yield, as it can be harvested only once every 300 years. Sacred flame fruit, a holy medicine for body tempering. Taking it can significantly enhance a cultivator's body tempering level. Even those at the late stage of soul formation can consume it. Huh? This is not bad. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes suddenly brightened. Currently, his body tempering level was just at the early stage of level 6. Advancing further was extremely difficult, especially in this lower realm, where he could hardly find any resources to enhance his body tempering level. Unexpectedly, in this mystic night secret realm, he found such a holy medicine for body tempering as the sacred flame fruit. At the thought of this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately decided to keep the fruit as an option. He continued to make his selections. A high-grade level 6 talisman, the spirit-breaking talisman, capable of attacking a cultivator's primordial spirit and inflicting severe damage. Level 6 spirit herb, the silent flower, which allows one to enter a state of nothingness after consuming it. Unless someone is a whole major realm higher than you, they will be unable to detect your presence for a certain period. High-grade level 6 mineral material, Xianxia Jade, which can transform your Dharma treasure and endow it with inherent divine powers. Indeed, each item before Jiang Chengxuan was extremely enticing. He hadn't expected the mystic night's secret realm to contain so many top-notch treasures. As Jiang Chengxuan was hesitating over which item to choose, his gaze suddenly fell on one particular item. His eyes narrowed, and his heart uncontrollably filled with excitement. A broken spirit treasure, the Sword of Extinction. At its peak, it had been stained with the blood of several void-returning divine lords and was damaged in a massive battle. Now, its spirit is on the verge of extinction, and its body is significantly damaged. Participants of the secret realm trial are advised to consider this option carefully. Jiang Chengxuan didn't expect that among these rewards, there would actually be a spirit treasure. Although this spirit treasure was in a damaged state, there was no denying its nature as a spirit treasure. Even in its damaged state, as long as he could refine it, the power it could unleash would be something that cultivators below void returning couldn't resist. What's most important is that he still had a repairing jade obtained from the system on him. With this jade, he had the ability to completely restore the damaged spirit treasure. At that time, he would truly possess his first spirit treasure. Thinking about this, Jiang Chengxuan no longer hesitated and immediately chose to exchange for the damaged spirit treasure. Buzz. As Jiang Chengxuan made his choice, a golden-flamed fruit appeared in his hand. It was the sacred flame fruit, a body-tempering sacred medicine. Next, a sword with numerous cracks and even some rust spots on its surface appeared, showing signs of severe damage. It was the damaged spirit treasure, the Sword of Extinction. Seeing this sword, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes lit up. Although the sword in front of him looked extremely damaged, he could still sense a faint spirituality emanating from it. Even though this spirituality was extremely weak, it was unmistakably the consciousness unique to intelligent beings. As he lightly brushed his finger over the damaged blade, Jiang Chengxuan's finger immediately felt a cold, stinging sensation. When he looked down, he noticed a small cut on his finger that had appeared without his awareness. It's worth noting that with his current physical strength, it was difficult for ordinary pure yang treasures to break his defense. However, just brushing against the damaged sword's blade had breached his defenses. Such sharpness was far beyond what ordinary pure yang treasures could compare to. If he could completely repair it, the power of this sword of extinction would be terrifying. Under unexpected circumstances, even if he were to face void-returning divine lords, they might suffer losses. Thinking about this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately put it away. Buzz. At the same time, a strong suction force suddenly appeared on his body, pulling him out of the Mystic Knight's secret realm. Outside, Jiang Chengxuan immediately saw many people who had already come out of the secret realm before him. Among these people, he vaguely recognized the white-robed elder from the Moonlight City outskirts that he had seen before. However, he did not see Shen Ruyan and Huang Wenyu among these people. They must still be undergoing the trials. Greetings, fellow Taoist Jiang. At this moment, the white-robed elder, who was from the Changkang Holy Land, took the initiative to step forward, bowing and saying, Lam Yang Beihua from the Changkang Holy Land, I had the privilege of witnessing your magnificent display of strength before. Now, to meet you once again here is truly a great fortune in my life. Jiang Chengxuan was genuinely surprised by how polite Yang Beihua, the white-robed elder, turned out to be. He immediately smiled and cupped his hands politely. Fellow Taoist Yang, I'm flattered. Your words are too kind. Yang Beihua didn't mind and shifted the conversation, asking, Just now, you must have gained quite a bit inside the Mystic Knight's secret realm, right? To be honest, I didn't even pass the second trial and was transported out of the secret realm. It's really a waste of this opportunity. Huh? Jiang Chengxuan was slightly surprised to hear Yang Beihua's words. If Yang Beihua had experienced the same trial as him, it was indeed possible that he couldn't pass the second trial. In fact, most cultivators would find it challenging to pass the second trial if their trials were similar. Curious, Jiang Chengxuan asked, Could you share what the second trial was for you? Yang Beihua chuckled and said, Of course, there's no harm in sharing. My second trial was to cultivate 3 different unfamiliar level 6 spells within half a day. As you know, at our level, cultivating level 6 spells isn't very difficult. But to cultivate 3 different unfamiliar ones within half a day is quite a challenge. With my aptitude, it's simply impossible. I see. Hearing Yang Beihua's words, Jiang Chengxuan finally confirmed that everyone experienced different tests in the Mystic Knight secret realm. The conversation continued for a while, during which more and more cultivators exited the secret realm. This included Zheng Hengyu from the West Ocean Commerce Alliance, Yang Beihua's junior brother Yao Xincheng, and Su Kunchen from the Su family. Su Kunchen recognized Jiang Chengxuan almost immediately upon seeing him, and his face showed a sudden change. He emitted a strong killing intent, but quickly suppressed it. Because at this moment, Zheng Hengyu and Yao Xincheng walked towards Jiang Chengxuan and Yang Beihua. This made his eyes turn dark. However, be it Jiang Chengxuan, Zheng Hengyu, or Yang Beihua, they clearly ignored Su Kunchen and had no intention of talking to him. Yang Beihua introduced Yao Xincheng and Zheng Hengyu to Jiang Chengxuan, while also using voice transmission to inform Jiang Chengxuan of the recent events in the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. This made Jiang Chengxuan have a somewhat favorable impression of the leader of the West Ocean Commerce Alliance. Regardless of the reasons, the fact that he had chosen to confront Su Kunchen head-on during such a situation showed a certain level of responsibility and loyalty. At the same time, it made Jiang Chengxuan more or less certain that this person valued Huang Wenyu quite sincerely. Buzz. Just as they were talking to each other, another group of people was suddenly teleported out from the Mystic Knight's secret realm. Everyone turned around and saw a few soul formation heavenly lords walking out. One of them was a great heavenly lord at the 7th level of soul formation. Yang Beihua, Yao Xincheng, and Zheng Hengyu's expressions changed slightly when they saw that person. Editor Henny Translations. On the other side, Su Kunchen's face lit up with joy. Without saying another word, he immediately went to greet the newcomer. At this moment, Yang Beihua, Yao Xincheng, and Zheng Hengyu's expressions unavoidably darkened. Jiang Chengxuan sensed their abnormality and immediately asked, Fellow Taoists, is there anything wrong with that person? Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's question, Yang Beihua and the others exchanged glances before Yang Beihua explained. That person is the great heavenly lord of the demonic flame palace, known as Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord. There have been rumors that the Su family has some connections with the demonic Flame Palace. It seems those rumors are indeed true. The demonic Flame Palace, is that a demonic sect? Yang Chengxun was slightly surprised. Zheng Hengyu affirmed with a nod. Indeed, the demonic Flame Palace is a demonic sect. Moreover, they often have conflicts with us, the righteous forces. Continuing, Zheng Hengyu looked at Jiang Chengxuan and advised, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, you should be careful. That Su Kunshan is not someone with a broad mind. It's possible he will seek help from Flame, Dragon, Heavenly Lord to cause you trouble." As soon as his words ended, everyone suddenly felt an extremely domineering and ferocious gaze directed at them. Within that gaze, they could distinctly sense as if infinite flames were boiling in the void, ready to engulf them all. Yang Beihua, Yao Zhencheng, and Zheng Hengyu's expressions changed again. Simultaneously, Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord's gaze finally settled on Jiang Chengxuan. With a domineering and ferocious voice, he declared, "Are you Jiang Chengxuan? Were you the one who killed Su Kunming, the guest elder of my demonic flame palace?" Before Jiang Chengxuan and his group could respond, Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord continued, "I'll give you a chance to atone. Hand over everything you obtained in the Mystic Knight's secret realm and swear to serve the demonic Flame Palace for 3,000 years. That way I can let this matter go." After he finished saying those words, a smug smile immediately appeared on Su Kunshan's face. On Jiang Chengxuan's side, Zheng Hengyu and Yang Beihua looked extremely grim. Zheng Hengyu's prediction had come true. Su Kunshan was indeed seeking help from Flame Dragon, Heavenly Lord, to directly confront Jiang Chengxuan. However, Jiang Chengxuan remained unfazed. He simply stared at Flame Dragon, Heavenly Lord, and calmly asked, "And if I refuse, what then?" "Refuse?" Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord was clearly taken aback, not expecting such an answer from Jiang Chengxuan. His eyes immediately turned even more dangerous, as dragon-shaped flames began to swirl around him. "I'm afraid this matter is not up to you to decide." "Is that so?" Jiang Chengxuan's expression remained calm as he suddenly said, "In this lower realm, no one can force me to do anything I'm unwilling to do." How arrogant! The eyes of the Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord were completely filled with blazing flames. Suddenly, a dragon's roar emanated from his body. In the next moment, a flaming dragon that bared its fangs and brandished its claws pounced at Jiang Chengxuan with a terrifying might that could incinerate everything. "I forgot to tell you, in this lower realm no one dares to openly defy what I demand." Roar! A massive roar of a flame dragon suddenly echoed between heaven and earth. Its terrifying body that was thousands of feet long arrived in front of Jiang Chengxuan in the blink of an eye. "Be careful!" Yang Beihua, Zheng Hengyu, and a few others immediately warned. Clang, 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 clang. Suddenly, a sharp sword light appeared in front of Jiang Chengxuan. The sword light was sharp, fierce, and deadly. Everyone present felt a tingling sensation on their skin, including Yang Beihua and Zheng Hengyu, the cultivators at the level of soul formation. What sword was that? Just as everyone was pondering this question, the giant flame dragon struck the sword light in front of Jiang Chengxuan directly. Clang! Slash! Instantly, endless sword chi erupted like a storm. The previously invincible flame dragon suddenly appeared with countless sword marks on its body, extinguishing the flames in those areas. Eventually, the body of the flame dragon was torn apart. Slash! As Jiang Chengxuan's final word fell, the sword light in front of him suddenly concentrated into a point. There was a swish. The entire massive body of the flame dragon exploded into a sky full of sparks and vanished. What? This scene shocked everyone present, including Yang Beihua, Zheng Hengyu, Yao Zhencheng, and Su Kunshan. Even the Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord himself, who was still domineering and fierce, showed a look of astonishment on his face. His attack was actually broken by Jiang Chengxuan like this. How is this possible? He is a great Heavenly Lord. How could an attack from a great Heavenly Lord be so easily broken by an ordinary Heavenly Lord? Unless the opponent is not an ordinary Heavenly Lord but, like him, also a late-stage great Heavenly Lord. At the thought of this, the Flame Dragon Heavenly Lord's pupils constricted. If that were the case, capturing him might not be so easy. What goes around comes around. Now take my move. Jiang Qingxuan's eyes suddenly sharpened. He gestured with his fingers as if holding a sword and made a light cutting motion forward. Shriek! In an instant, a straight golden sword beam like a laser shot towards the flame dragon Heavenly Lord. Hell! The flame dragon Heavenly Lord's body hair stood on end at that moment. A feeling of extreme danger suddenly surged in his heart. Not good. At that moment, he could no longer care about anything else. A dragon-shaped flame barrier appeared in front of him out of thin air. Simultaneously, a red glowing flying sword, accompanied by dragon roars, swiftly emerged from above his head. Rumble! A rumble that sounded like a nuclear explosion echoed through the air. The flame dragon Heavenly Lord's red flying sword emitted a mournful cry. The flame dragon's shadow in the air suddenly disintegrated. Clang, clang, clang. At the same time, the red flying sword was forced to retreat, spinning in the air. At this moment, the flame dragon Heavenly Lord felt a violent shake in his body, and the dharmic power within him ran rampant uncontrollably. However, before he could react, the straight golden sword beam was slashing towards him again. There was a pop. The dragon-shaped flame barrier in front of him also extinguished instantly, and his entire body was suddenly thrown flying sideways.